Solitaire, OSEMAN. Part 2. Donny. A storm is coming, Frank says. A storm that will swallow the children, and I will deliver them from the kingdom of pain. I will deliver the children back to their doorsteps. I will send the monsters back to the underground. I'll send them back to a place where no one else can see them, except for me, because I am Donnie Darko. Donnie Darko, Director's Cut, 2004. 1. Lucas was a crier. It happened most days in primary school, and I think that was one of the main reasons I was his friend. I didn't mind the crying. It would come on slowly and then explode. He'd sport this odd expression for a few minutes before. Not sad, but as if he were playing a television program in his head, watching the events unfold. He'd look down, but not at the ground, and then the tears would start falling. Always silent, never heaving. I don't think that there was a particular reason for the crying. I think that was just his personality. When he wasn't crying, we played chess or lightsaber duels or Pokemon battles. When he was crying, we'd read books. This was a time in my life when I read books. I always felt at my best when we were together. It's funny, I've never found that relationship with another person. Well, maybe Becky, in our early days. When Lucas and I left primary school, we left with the assumption that we would continue to see each other. As all those who have left primary school can guess, this never came to fruition. I saw him only once more after that time. Before now, of course. A chance meeting on the high street. I was 12. He told me that he'd sent me an Easter egg in the post. It was May. I hadn't got any post since my birthday. At home that evening I wrote him a card. I said that I hoped that we could still be friends, and I gave him my email address, and I drew a picture of myself and him for good measure. I never sent that card. It stayed in the bottom of my top desk drawer for several years until I cleared up my room. When I found it, I tore it up and threw it away. I think about all these things as I'm wandering the school on Monday. I can't find him. All this time I've just been sitting around moaning about how shit everything is, not bothering to try and make things better. I hate myself for that. I'm like all those people in the crowd at the Solitaire meet-up, not bothering to help. I don't think I can be like that anymore. Michael isn't anywhere to be seen either. He's probably decided to leave me alone for good now, which is fair enough. I've screwed it up again. Classic Tori. Anyway, I want to talk to Lucas about Saturday. Apologize for not meeting up with him like I said I would. Tell him he doesn't have to avoid me anymore. Twice I think I see his lanky limbs swish around the corridor corners, but as I run to catch him, I realize it's just another thin-faced sixth-form boy. He's not in the common room before school, at break, or at lunch. After a while, I forget who I'm looking for and just continue on walking forever. I check my phone several times, but there's only one message on my blog. Anonymous. Thought for the day. What is the point in studying literature? Becky and our lot have not talked to me all day. Ben Hope did not go to the hospital. He wasn't anywhere near death. Some people seem to feel sorry for him, whereas others say that he deserved what he got for being a homophobe. I'm not sure what I think about it anymore. When Charlie and I talked about it, he seemed pretty shaken up.
This is my fault,
he said, grimacing.
It's my fault that Ben was angry in the first place, so it's my fault that Solitaire...
It's not anyone's fault, I told him. Except Solitaire's. On Tuesday, Kent keeps me back after English. Becky seems to be quite hopeful that I'm in some kind of severe trouble, but Kent says nothing until everyone is gone. He sits on his desk, arms folded, glasses angled at a nonchalant slant.
Tori, I think we need to talk about your Heroes of Pride and Prejudice essay. It was a very angry essay. Why did you decide to write it in that way?
I really hate that book. Kent rubs his forehead.
Yes, I got that impression.
He retrieves my essay from a cardboard folder and places it between us.
I am sorry, Mr. Kent,
He reads.
but I have not read Pride and Prejudice. I disagreed with the very first sentence, and that was enough for me.
Kent looks up at me briefly before skipping to my second paragraph.
Alas, Elizabeth Bennet does not love Mr. Darcy while he is imperfect. Only once his better character is revealed does she decide that she will accept Pemberley and the 100 billion a year. Fancy that. It seems that it is impossible for the females in this novel to look past an exterior and try to dig out the greatness within others. Yes, all right, Elizabeth is prejudiced. I get it, Jane Austen. Well done.
Yeah, I say. All right.
I'm not done.
Chuckles Kent. He skips to my conclusion.
This is why Mr. Darcy is, in my eyes, a true hero. He struggles on despite being so harshly treated and judged. Pride and Prejudice is one man's fight to be seen by others as he sees himself. Therefore, he is not typical. A typical hero is brave, confident, and dashing. Mr. Darcy is shy, haunted by himself, and unable to fight for his own character. But he loves, and I guess that is all that matters in the world of literature.
I should be embarrassed about this, but I'm really not. He sighs.
It's interesting that you identify with a character like Mr. Darcy.
Why?
Well, most students choose Elizabeth as the strongest character.
I look at him squarely. Mr. Darcy has to put up with everyone hating him for reasons that aren't even true, and he doesn't even complain about it. I'd call that pretty strong. Kent chuckles again.
Elizabeth Bennet is thought to be one of the strongest women of 19th century literature. I take it you're not a feminist.
You think I'm not a feminist because I empathise more with a male in a pretentious 19th century romantic comedy. He smiles broadly and doesn't answer. I shrug. It's just what I think. He nods thoughtfully.
Well, that's fair. Don't write so colloquially in your exam, though. You're smart and it'll get you a bad mark.
All right. He hands me back the essay.
Listen, Tori.
He scratches his chin, making a grating sound against his stubble.
I've noticed that you've been quite significantly underachieving in all your AS subjects.
He pauses and blinks.
I mean, you were doing really very well in Year 11, especially in English.
I got a B in my sociology mock last term, I say. That's not that bad.
You've been getting Ds in English, Tori. People who get 2 A stars in English GCSEs do not then get Ds at AS level. Can you think of a reason for why this has happened?
He stares at me cautiously. I suppose. I don't really like school anymore.
Why is that?
It's just... I just hate being here. My voice dies away. I look up at the classroom clock. I need to go. I need to get to music. He nods very slowly.
I think that a lot of people hate being here.
He turns his head to the side and glances out of the window.
But that's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you go on acknowledging that you hate it, you're never going to want to be here. You can't give up on it. You can't be defeatist about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I run out the door. 2. I find Lucas by the lockers at the end of school, and this time he really cannot avoid me. He's with Evelyn and that guy with the quiff. They're all pinching their noses because Solitaire stink-bombed the entire school approximately 1 hour ago. Classic, disgusting, and unnecessary. However, most people in school today seem to be generally supportive of this particular prank. The smell in the corridor is mouldy egg. I cover my mouth and nose with my jumper. Lucas, Evelyn, and Quiff Guy are in conversation. Serious conversation. But because I've recently turned into a rude and arrogant person, I don't give a crap that I'm going to interrupt. Why are you avoiding me? I call. Lucas nearly drops several large ring binders and stares around Evelyn's head. He moves his hand away from his nose.
Victoria, God!
Evelyn and the guy turn and study me suspiciously before slinking away. I step toward Lucas. He's got his bag slung over his shoulder. Are you sure Evelyn isn't your girlfriend? I ask, still holding my jumper over part of my face.
What?
He laughs nervously.
Why do you think that?
I always see you with her. Are you her secret boyfriend? He blinks several times.
No. No.
Are you lying?
No.
Are you angry because I forgot we were going to meet up on Saturday?
No. No, I promise I'm not.
Then why are you avoiding me? I haven't seen you since... I haven't seen you this week. He shoves the ring binders into the locker and withdraws a sizable art sketchbook.
I'm not avoiding you.
Don't lie. He flinches. I get it. Lucas has tried so hard since term started to be friends with me again, and I've been such an arse about it. Just because I hate making friends, I've been rude to him. I've ignored him. I've avoided him. And I haven't made a single bit of effort for him. That's me, as usual, being an utter dick to everyone for no apparent reason. I get it. I get that I don't exactly engage with people, but since Saturday I felt that not engaging can be just as bad as the alternative. Now Lucas doesn't seem to even want to know me. Look, I say, dropping my jumper, feeling desperation sink into my soul. We were best friends once, weren't we? I don't want you to avoid me. I'm sorry I forgot about Saturday. I forget stuff like that. But you're one of the 3 people who I've ever been friends with, and I don't want to not talk to you anymore. He runs a hand through his hair. It's halfway down his forehead.
I don't know what to say.
Just please, tell me why you avoided me on Saturday. Something's different. His eyes shift from side to side.
I can't be around you.
Then quieter.
I can't do this.
What? He slams the locker shut. It makes a noise that's far too loud.
I've got to go.
But he's already walked away. I stand by his locker for a minute or so. The mouldy egg smell appears to be intensifying, as does my hatred for Solitaire. Lucas forgot to lock his locker properly, so I can't resist opening it and having a look inside. There are 3 ring binders in there: English literature, psychology, and history, along with a bunch of sheets. I pick one up. It's a psychology sheet about coping with stress. There is a picture of a girl holding her head in both hands, a bit like that famous painting The Scream. One of the suggestions is regular exercise, and another is writing down your problems. I replace the sheet and shut Lucas's locker. 3. Grandma and Grandad have come round, the first time in months. We're all at the dinner table and I'm trying not to catch eyes with anyone, but I keep seeing Mum glance concernedly toward Grandad and then glance concernedly toward Charlie. Dad's sitting between Charlie and Oliver. I'm at the head of the table.
Your mum's told us you've got back onto the rugby team, Charlie,
says Grandad. When he talks, he leans forward like we can't hear him, even though he speaks twice as loud as everyone else. I think that this is very stereotypical of Grandad.
It's a blessing they let you back on. You really messed them around. What with all that time off?
Yeah, it was really nice of them,
says Charlie, holding his knife and fork in his hands by the side of his plate.
It feels like we haven't seen Charlie for years,
says Grandma.
Doesn't it, Richard? Next time we see you, you'll probably have a wife and children.
Charlie forces himself to laugh politely.
A rugby team always needs a skinny one like yourself. Someone to do the running. You understand? If you'd just eaten more earlier on, you would have grown big enough to be one of those proper players. And I suppose it's too late for that now. I blame your parents, personally. More green vegetables at an early age.
You haven't told us about your Oxford trip, Dad,
says Mum. I look at the plate. It's lasagna. I haven't eaten anything yet. I discreetly retrieve my phone from my pocket, and I have a message. I texted Lucas earlier. 15:23. Tori Spring. Look, I'm really, really sorry. 18:53. Lucas Ryan.
It's fine. Kiss.
19:06. Tori Spring. Quite clearly it's not. 1918. I'm so sorry. 1922. Lucas Ryan.
It's not even about that, TBH. Kiss.
1929. Tori Spring. Well, why are you avoiding me then? Dad's finished his dinner, but I've been taking it slow for Charlie.
How are you getting along, Tori?
Asks Grandma.
Enjoying sixth form?
Yes, yeah. I smile at her. It's great.
They must treat you like adults now.
Oh, yes, yeah. 1942. Tori Spring. You at least need to tell me why.
And your lessons are interesting?
Yes, very.
Thought much about university?
I smile. No, not really. Grandma nods.
You should start thinking.
Granddad grumbles.
Important life decisions. One wrong move and you could end up in an office for the rest of your life. Like me.
How's Becky?
Asks Grandma.
She's such a lovely girl. It would be nice if you keep in touch with her when you leave.
She's fine. Yeah, she's good.
Such beautiful long hair.
1945. Lucas Ryan.
Can you meet me in town tonight? Kiss.
How about you, Charlie? Have you been thinking about sixth form, subjects-wise?
Yeah, well, I'll definitely do classics, and probably English. But apart from that, I'm not really sure. Maybe PE or something. Or psychology.
Where are you going to apply?
Hughs, I think.
Higgs?
Harvey Green. Tori School.
Grandma nods.
I see.
An all-girls school?
Granddad scoffs.
You won't find any discipline there. A growing boy needs discipline.
My fork makes a loud noise on my plate. Granddad's eyes flicker toward me, and then back at Charlie.
You've made some good strong friends at that school. Why are you leaving them?
I'll see them outside of school.
Your friend, Nicholas. He's at Truham sixth form currently, is he not?
Yeah.
So you don't want to be with him?
Charlie nearly chokes on his food.
It's not that. I just think that Hughs is a better school.
Granddad shakes his head.
Education. What's that compared to friendship?
I can't take any more of this, and I'm getting much too angry, so I ask to be excused with a stomach ache. As I leave, I hear Granddad say,
Girl's got a weak stomach, just like her brother.
I arrive first. It's snowing again. I sit at a table outside Café Rivière. We agreed to meet at 9 p.m, and it's just gone 10:02. The street is empty and the river is quiet, but a faint echo of one of those indie bands, maybe Noah and the Whale or Fleet Foxes or Fowls or the XX or something like that. I can never tell the difference anymore. Is drifting out of an open window above my head. The music continues to play while I wait for Lucas. I wait until 9 p.m. Then I wait until 9:15 p.m. Then I wait until 9:30 p.m. At 10:07 p.m. my phone vibrates. 22:07. Lucas Ryan.
Sorry. Kiss.
I look at the message for a long time, at the single word without a full stop, at the tiny, meaningless X. I place my phone on the table and look up at the sky. The sky always seems to be lighter when it's snowing. I breathe out. A cloud of dragon's breath sails above my head. Then I stand up and start to walk home. 4. In Wednesday assembly, the sixth formers spread themselves along 5 sectioned off rows of the hall seating. You have to fill all the gaps, otherwise not everyone will fit in the hall, so you don't get to choose where you sit. This is how I end up accidentally sitting between Rita and Becky. As people are filing into seating rows, Ben Hope, back at school with a moderately bruised face, stares directly at me. He doesn't seem angry or scared, and he doesn't even try to ignore me. He just looks sad, like he's about to cry. Probably because he's not going to be popular anymore. I haven't seen Ben and Becky together yet, which is a sign that maybe Becky actually listened to my explosion. I think about Charlie. I wonder where Michael is. I wish Ben didn't exist. Kent's taking the assembly. He's talking about women. Most of our assemblies are about women.
But I'm going to tell you the absolute truth. You, as women, are at an automatic disadvantage in the world.
Becky on my right keeps changing which side she crosses her legs. I make a conscious effort not to move.
I don't think that many of you realise how fortunate you have been so far.
I start counting Kent's pauses under my breath. Becky doesn't join me.
Going to the best girls' grammar school in the county is an unbelievable privilege.
I can see Lucas 2 rows in front of me. He managed to catch eyes with me as he was sitting down on the way in, and I didn't bother trying to look away. I just stared. I don't even feel angry, really, about him standing me up last night. I don't feel anything.
I know that many of you complain about the hard work, but until you face the real world, the world of work, you can't understand the meaning of hard work.
Rita taps me suddenly on the knee. She holds out her hymn sheet. Underneath the lyrics to Love Shine a Light, she has written, "You're isolating yourself."
You are going to face a phenomenal shock once you leave this school. This school where all are treated as equals.
I read it several times, then study Rita. She's just someone I know. I'm not really friends with her.
You are going to have to work harder than men to get to where you want to be. That is the simple truth.
She shrugs at me.
Therefore, I hope that while you're at this school, you'll think about and be appreciative of what you've got. You are all very lucky. You have the potential to do anything you want to do, and be anything you want to be.
I fold the hymn sheet into a paper plane, but I don't fly it, because you can't do that in assembly. Everyone stands and sings Love Shine a Light, and the lyrics nearly make me laugh out loud. On my way out, I drop the paper plane directly into Becky's blazer pocket. I don't sit with anyone at lunch. I end up not having any lunch, actually, but I don't mind. I walk around the school. At many points during the day I wonder where Michael could be, but at other times I'm fairly sure that I don't care. I haven't seen Michael all week. I have been thinking a lot about his skating. National Youth Semi-Finals. I wonder why he didn't tell me about it. I wonder why he isn't here. I'm sitting against the tennis court surrounded by seagulls, which is odd, because they should have migrated by now. It's period 5, music. I always skip Wednesday period 5 because that's our performance practice lesson. I am watching as every girl in Year 7 makes her way out of the main school building and onto the field, some running, most laughing, and each with a collection of party poppers in her hands. I can't see any teachers. I don't know what Solitaire has said to Year 7, but it's clear to me that this is its doing. I take out my phone and load up Google. I type in Michael Holden, and then I type in the name of our town. Then I press enter. Like magic, my Michael Holden appears in the search results. The first result is an article from our county newspaper entitled, "Local Teen Wins National Speed Skating Championship." I click on it. It takes a while to load. My knees start to bob up and down in anticipation. Sometimes I hate the internet. The article is about 3 years old. There is an accompanying picture of 15-year-old Michael, but he doesn't look so very different. Maybe his face is a little less defined. Maybe his hair is a little longer. Maybe he's not quite so tall. In the picture, he's standing on a podium with a trophy and a bunch of flowers. He's smiling. Local teen Michael Holden has skated to victory at this year's National Under-16 Speed Skating Championship. Holden's previous victories include Regional Under-12 Champion, Regional Under-14 Champion, and National Under-14 Champion. The head of the UK Speed Skating Authority, Mr. John Lincoln, has spoken out in response to Holden's undeniably extraordinary run of victories. Lincoln claimed, "We have found a future international competitor. Holden clearly displays the commitment, experience, drive and talent to bring the UK to victory in a sport that has never received satisfactory attention in this country. I head back to the search results page. There are many more articles of a similar nature. Michael won the under-18 championship last year. I guess this is why he was angry when he came in second in the semi-final. And fair enough. I think I would be angry if I were him. I sit there, staring at Google for some time. I wonder whether I feel starstruck. But I don't think that's really it. It just seems momentarily impossible for Michael to have the spectacular life that I don't know about. A life where he's not simply running around with a smile on his face, doing stuff that has no point. It's so easy to assume you know everything about a person. I click off my phone and lean back against the wire fence. The Year 7s have now congregated. A teacher runs out of the school toward them, but she's too late. The Year 7s shout a countdown from 10, and then they lift their party poppers into the air and let loose, and it sounds like I've wandered into a World War II battlefield. Soon, everyone is screaming and jumping, the streamer spiraling through the air like some crazy rainbow hurricane. Other teachers begin to show, also screaming. I find myself smiling, and then I begin to laugh, and then instantly feel disappointed in myself. I shouldn't be enjoying anything that Solitaire is doing. But also, this is the first time in my life that I have ever felt a positive emotion toward Year 7. "5. I'm on my way home in the bus when Michael finally decides to make his dramatic reappearance. I'm sitting in the second seat from the back on the left downstairs, listening to Elvis Costello like the goddamn hipster I am, when he spontaneously cycles up beside me on his mouldy old bike, so that he's rolling down the road at the same speed as the bus. The window that I'm looking out of is all grimy, and the snow has dried water droplets into it, but I can still see his smuggled face in profile, grinning in the wind like a dog hanging its head out of the car. He turns, searching along the windows, eventually realizing that I am in fact directly adjacent to him. Hair billowing, coat flapping behind him like a cape, he waves, freakishly, and then slaps his hand so hard on the window so that every stupid kid on the bus stops throwing whatever they're throwing and looks at me. I raise my own hand and wave, feeling quite ill. He keeps this up until I get off the bus 10 minutes later, by which time it has started to snow again. I tell Nick and Charlie that they can go on without me. When we're alone, we sit on the garden wall, Michael propping his bike up against it. I notice that he isn't wearing his school uniform. I look to my left, up at his face. He isn't looking at me. I wait for him to start the conversation, but he doesn't. I think he's challenging me. It's taken longer than it should for me to recognize that I want to be around him. I say, forcing the words out, "Sorry." He blinks as if confused, turns to me and smiles gently.
"It's okay,"
he says. I nod a little and look away.
"We've done this before, haven't we?"
he says. Done what?
The awkward apology thing?
I think back to the manically depressed psychopath comment. This isn't the same, though. That was me being stupid and his anger getting the better of him. That was just words. I didn't know Michael at all back then. Michael still has that spark, that light. But there's more there now. Things that could not be seen, only found. "Where have you been?" I ask. He looks away and chuckles.
"I got suspended. For Monday afternoon, yesterday, and today."
This is so ridiculous that I actually laugh. Did you finally give someone a nervous breakdown? He chuckles again, but it's weird.
That could probably happen, to be fair.
His face changes.
No, yeah, I swore at Kent.
I snort. You swore? You got suspended because you swore?
Yep.
He scratches his head.
Turns out Hughs has some sort of policy on that.
The land of oppression, I nod, quoting Becky. So how did that happen?
It sort of started in history, I guess. We had our mocks a couple of weeks ago, and we got our marks on Monday, and my teacher held me back after the lesson because, predictably, I did really bad. I think I legitimately got an E, or something. So she started having a real go at me, raving on about how much of a disappointment I am and how I don't even try. That's when I started to get pretty annoyed because, I clearly tried. But she kept on going on, and she held up my essay and pointed at it and was like, "What do you think this is? Nothing in this makes sense. Where's your point evidence explanation? Where's your PEE?" Essentially, she ended up taking me to Kent's office like I was some sort of primary kid.
He pauses. He isn't looking at me.
And Kent started his big speech about how I should be better than this, and I'm not committing enough to schoolwork, and I'm not putting in enough effort. And I tried to defend myself, but you know what Kent's like. As soon as I started trying to reason with him, he got all aggressive and patronising, which made me even more angry, because, teachers simply cannot admit to a student when they could possibly be wrong. And then, I didn't mean to, but I was like, "You don't even fucking care, though, do you?" And, I got suspended.
This reminds me of the Michael who Nick described the first day of term. But instead of finding this story a little strange, I actually feel pretty impressed. "What a rebel," I say. He gives me a long look.
"Yes,"
he says.
"I'm awesome."
Teachers really don't care, though.
Yeah, I should have known that, really.
We both return to staring at the row of houses opposite. The windows are all orange from the setting sun. I scuff my shoe on the snowy pavement. I kind of want to ask him about his skating, but at the same time, I feel like that's his thing. His special private thing. "I've been pretty bored without you," I say. There is a long pause.
"Me too,"
Michael says. "Did you hear about what the Year 7s did today?"
"Yeah, that was hilarious."
"I was there. I always sit on the field Wednesday period 5, so I was literally right there. It was raining streamers or something." He seems to stop moving. After a few seconds, he turns his head slowly toward me.
"That was a lucky coincidence,"
he says. It takes me a minute to get what he's saying. It's ridiculous. Solitaire would have no way of knowing that I always skip that lesson and sit on the field. Teachers hardly notice most of the time. It's ridiculous. But I start thinking about what Michael said before. About Star Wars, Material Girl, the cats, the violin, and the Ben Hope attack. That was about my brother. But it's impossible. I'm not special. It's entirely impossible, but there have been a lot of coincidences. "Yes," I say. "Just a coincidence." We both stand up and start to walk along the gradually widening path, Michael pushing his bike along beside him. It leaves a long grey line between us. Little white dots of snow rest in Michael's hair. "What now?" I ask. I'm not sure which now I'm talking about. This minute, today, the rest of our lives.
"Now?"
Michael considers my question.
"Now we celebrate and rejoice in our youth. Isn't that what we're supposed to do?"
I find myself grinning. Yes, that is what we're supposed to do. We walk a little further. The snow grows from a light sprinkling to flakes as large as 5-pence pieces.
"I heard about what you said to Becky,"
he says. "Who told you?"
"Charlie."
"Who told Charlie?" He shakes his head.
"I don't know."
"When did you talk to Charlie?" He avoids my eye.
"The other day. I just wanted to make sure you were all right."
"What, do you think I'm depressed or something?" I say this much too angrily. I don't want people to be worried about me. There's nothing to worry about. I don't want people to try and understand why I am the way I am, because I should be the first person to understand that, and I don't understand yet. I don't want people to interfere. I don't want people in my head picking out this and that, permanently picking up the broken pieces of me. If that's what friends do, then I don't want any." He smiles, a proper smile. Then he laughs.
"You really cannot accept that people care."
I don't say anything. He's right, but I don't say anything. He stops laughing. Several minutes pass in silence. I start to think about 4 weeks ago, when I didn't know Michael, when Solitaire hadn't happened. I am aware that I feel sadder about things now. A lot of things around me have been very sad, and I seem to be the only one who can see it. Becky, for example, Lucas, Ben, Hope, Solitaire, everyone is okay with hurting people. Or maybe they cannot see that they are hurting people. But I can. The problem is that people don't act. The problem is that I don't act. I just sit here, doing nothing, assuming that someone else is going to make things better. Eventually, Michael and I end up at the edge of town. It's getting dark now, and more than one street lamp flickers on as we pass, casting a yellow glow across the ground. We walk down a wide alley between two large houses and break out into the fields, slick with snow that stretch between the town and the river. Whites, greys, blues. Everything is a blurry mist. Rain on the windscreen. A painting. I stand there. It all kind of stops. Like I've left Earth. Like I've left the universe. It's beautiful, I say. Don't you think the snow's beautiful? I expect Michael to agree with me. But he doesn't.
I don't know,
he says.
It's just cold. It's romantic, I guess, but it just makes things cold.
Six.
So, Tori,
Kent scans his eyes over my next essay.
what was your opinion this time?
It's Friday, lunchtime. I didn't really have anything to do, so I came to give him my next English essay early. To what extent is marriage the central concern of Pride and Prejudice? It appears that Kent is talkative today, my least favourite character trait. I wrote a normal essay.
I thought you might.
He nods.
I still want to know what you thought.
I tried to think back to when I wrote it. Monday lunch, Tuesday, all the days blur into one.
Do you think marriage is the central concern?
It's a concern, not the central concern.
Do you think that Elizabeth cares about marriage at all?
I picture the film. I think she does, but it doesn't really occur to her when she's with Darcy. Like, she doesn't relate the two together, Darcy and marriage. They're two separate problems.
Then what would you consider to be the central concern of Pride and Prejudice?
Themselves. I put my hands in my blazer pockets. They spend the whole thing trying to merge who they really are and who they're seen as. Kent nods again, as if he knows something that I don't.
That's interesting. Most people say that love is the main theme, or the class system.
He puts my essay into a cardboard folder.
Do you read many books at home, Tori?
I don't read. This seems to surprise him.
Yet you decided to take English Literature A-level.
I shrug.
What do you do for fun, Tori?
Fun?
Surely you have a hobby. Everyone has a hobby. I read, for example.
My hobbies are drinking diet lemonade and being a bitter asshole. I used to play the violin.
Ah, you see? A hobby.
I don't like the implication of the word hobby. It makes me think of crafts or golf, something that cheerful people do. I gave it up, though.
Why?
I don't know. I just didn't enjoy it much. Kent nods for the 100th time, tapping his hand on his knee.
That's fair. What do you enjoy?
I like watching films, I guess.
What about friends? Don't you like being with them?
I think about it. I should enjoy being with them. That's what people do. They hang around with friends for fun. They have adventures and they travel and they fall in love. They have fights and they lose each other, but they always find each other again. That's what people do.
Who would you consider to be your friend?
I again take my time to think and make a list in my head. Michael Holden, most qualified candidate for friend status. Becky Allen, was best friend in past, but obviously no more. Lucas Ryan, see above. Who else was my friend before this? I can't really remember.
Things certainly are a lot easier the fewer friends that you have.
Kent sighs, folding his arms against his tweed jacket.
But then, friendship comes with a lot of benefits.
I wonder what he is talking about. Are friends really that important? He clasps his hands together.
Think about all the films you've seen. Most of the people who do well and turn out happy have friends, yes? Often it's just one or two very close friends. Look at Darcy and Bingley, Jane and Elizabeth, Frodo and Sam, Harry, Ron and Hermione. Friends are important. People who are alone are usually the antagonists, like Voldemort.
Even Voldemort had followers, I argue. But the word followers just makes me think about my blog.
Followers, yes. Friends, real friends, definitely not. You can't always rely just on yourself, even though it can seem like an easier way to live.
I disagree, so I choose not to say anything. Kent leans forward.
Come on, Tori, snap out of it. You're better than this.
Better than what? Sorry my grades haven't been good.
Don't be dumb, you know this isn't about that.
I frown at him. He frowns right back. A sarcastic frown.
Get a grip. It's time for you to stand up. You can't continue to let life's chances just drift by.
I stand up out of the chair and turn around to leave. As I open the door, he murmurs.
Nothing's going to change until you decide you want it to change.
I shut the door behind me, wondering if I just imagined this entire conversation. 7. Last period is a free period, so I sit in the common room. I keep looking at Becky, who is working at another table, but she doesn't look at me. Evelyn is also there. She stays on her phone for the entire hour. I check my blog and there's a message. Anonymous. Thought for the day. Why do people believe in God? I check the Solitaire blog, and the top post at the moment is a gif of a little boy blowing bubbles out of one of those plastic pots. A barrage of bubbles burst into the air and up into the sky, and the camera looks up at them and sunlight shines through, lighting them up pink and orange and green and blue. Then the gif repeats, and you see the little boy again, blowing the bubbles into the sky. The boy, the bubbles, the sky, the boy, bubbles, sky. When I get home, even Mom notices that something's changed, and she tries half-heartedly to get it out of me, but I just end up back in my room. I walk around for a little bit and then lie down. Charlie comes into my room and asks me what's wrong. Just as I'm about to tell him, I start crying, and it's not even silent tears this time. It's proper bawling, and I hate myself so much for it that it makes me literally barricade my face from the air with my arms and cry so hard that I stop breathing properly. I've got to do something, I keep saying. I've got to do something.
Do something about what?
Asks Charlie, clutching his knees to his chest. Just, I don't know, everything's gone crazy, everyone's gone crazy. I've ruined everything with Becky, and I keep ruining everything with Michael, and I don't even know who Lucas is. Not really. My life was so normal before. I used to hate being so bored, but I want that back. I didn't care about anything before, but then, on Saturday, all those people, no one gave a single shit about it. They didn't care that Ben Hope could have been kicked to death, and I know he wasn't, but I can't be like that anymore. I know it doesn't make any sense. I know I'm probably just stressing about nothing. I know I'm shit. I know I'm a ridiculous excuse for a human being, but before Solitaire, everything was fine. I was fine. I used to be fine. Charlie just nods. He sits with me while I'm raving and crying, and when I've calmed down, I pretend I need to sleep so he goes away. I lie with my eyes open and think about everything that has happened in my entire life. And it doesn't take me very long to get to where I am now. I decide sleeping is impossible, so I start searching through my room for nothing in particular. I find my box of special things in my desk drawer. A box of keepsakes, I guess. And on the top is a diary that I kept in the summer of Year 7. I read the first page. Sunday, 24 August. Up at the crack of 10:30 a.m., Becky and Ma went to the cinema today and saw Pirates of the Caribbean. Is that how you spell it? 2, and OMG, it was so good. Becky thinks Orlando Bloom is the finest, but I like Johnny Depp best. He is hilarious and brilliant. Then we went to get pizza in the high street. She had Hawaiian, but obviously mine was plain cheese. Yum. She's coming around next week for a sleepover too, which is going to be so fun. She says she needs to tell me about a boy that she likes, and we're going to eat so much food and stay up all night and watch films. I put the diary back into the bottom of the drawer and sit calmly for several minutes. Then I get it out again and find a pair of scissors and start shredding it, cutting up the pages and the hardcover, slashing and ripping until it's just a confetti-like pile of paper shavings in my lap. Also in the treasure box is an empty bubbles pot. Becky gave it to me for my birthday a long time ago. I used to love bubbles, even if I could never get over the fact that they are always empty inside. And then I remember the GIF on the Solitaire blog. That's another thing then. Another thing to add to the list. The violin video, the Star Wars, all that bullshit. I looked at the bubbles pot, feeling nothing. Or everything. I don't know. No. I do know. Michael was right. He's been right this whole time. Solitaire is talking to me. Michael was right. It doesn't make any sense, but I know it's me. It's all been about me. I run into the bathroom and throw up. When I return, I shove away the box, shut the drawer and open another. This one is full of stationery. I test out all my pens with wild squiggles on the pieces of paper and chuck those that don't work under my bed, which is most of them. I'm humming loudly to cover up the sounds I'm hearing from the window, because I know that I'm making them up. My eyes keep tearing up, then calming down, then tearing up again, and I keep rubbing them so hard that I see sparkles even when they're open. I grab the scissors again, and spend at least half an hour sitting in front of my mirror and trimming my split ends obsessively. Then I find a big black marker and I get this sudden urge to write something. So on my own arm, in big black marker, I write, I am Victoria Annabelle Spring. Partially because I can't think of anything else to write, and partially because I'm feeling as if I need to remind myself that I actually have a middle name. Solitaire is talking to me. Maybe deliberately, maybe not, but I've decided it's on me now to do something about it. It's all on me. I move to my bedside table. I take out a few old pens and a few books I haven't read and my makeup wipes and my current diary, which I do not write in anymore. I open it up and read the first few entries, and close it again. It's very sad, very cliché teenager. I disgust myself. I close my eyes and hold my breath for as long as possible. 46 seconds. I cry consistently and pathetically for a full 23 minutes. I turn on my laptop and scroll through my favourite blogs. I don't post anything on my own blog. I can't remember the last time I did that. Eight. It's been a weird weekend. Not really knowing what to do, I stayed in bed for most of it, scrolling through the internet, watching TV, etc., etc. Nick and Charlie came to have a chat after lunch on Sunday and made me feel pretty bad for being a lazy slob. So my weekend concludes with Nick and Charlie dragging me to a local music festival at the Clay, which is a grassless field just over the river bridge bordered by a scattering of trees and broken fences. Nick and Charlie and I walk across the mud toward the crowd surrounding the stage. It's not quite snowing yet, but I can feel it coming. Whoever thought that January was a good month for a music festival is probably a sadist. The band, apparently some London indie band, is so loud that you can hear them from the other end of the high street. While there aren't any actual lights, every other person appears to be holding a torch or carrying a glow stick, and toward the edge of the field is a violent bonfire. I feel significantly underprepared. I think about running back over the bridge and back up the high street and all the way home. No. No running home.
Are you all right?
Shouts Charlie over the music. He and Nick are several paces ahead, Nick with a torch shining in my direction, blinding me.
Are you sticking with us?
Nick points at the stage.
We're going to go watch.
No, I say. Charlie just looks at me as I walk off. Nick pulls him away and they disappear into the crowds. I disappear into the crowd too. There are so many people here that I'm actually warm, and I can't see much, just the green and yellow of glow sticks and the lights of the stage. This band has been on for at least half an hour, and the Clay is now more like a swamp. Mud splatters my jeans. I keep seeing people I know from school, and every time I do, I give them a large sarcastic wave. In the middle of the crowd, Evelyn shakes me by the shoulders and screams that she's looking for her boyfriend. It really makes me dislike her. After a while, I realise I keep treading on bits of paper. They're literally everywhere. I'm alone in the crowd when I decide to pick one up and look at it properly, lighting it up with my phone torch. It's a flyer. Black background. There's a symbol in the middle in red. An upside-down heart drawn in a scrolly sort of way so that it looks like an uppercase A with a circle around it. So that it sort of looks like the symbol for anarchy. Beneath the symbol is the word Friday. My hands begin to shake. Before I have time to think any more about what this might mean, I'm pushed right next to Becky, where she's jumping up and down near the barrier with Lauren and Rita. We catch eyes. Lucas is there too, behind Rita. He's wearing this shirt with little metal edges on the collar, underneath a grandad jumper and a large denim jacket. He's also wearing Vans and rolled black jeans. Just looking at him makes me feel really sad. I shove the Friday flyer into my coat pocket. He sees me over Rita's shoulder and kind of cowers backward, which must be pretty difficult in a crowd as packed as this. I point at my chest, not dropping my eyes. Then I point at him. Then I point toward the empty end of the field. When he doesn't move, I grab him by the arm and start to pull him backward out and away from the crowd and the throbbing speakers. I'm reminded of when we were 10, or 9, or 8, in a similar situation, me pulling Lucas along by the arm. He never did anything by himself. I was always very good at doing things by myself. I guess I sort of enjoyed looking after him. There comes a point, though, when you can't keep looking after other people anymore. When you have to start looking after yourself. Then again, I guess I don't do either of those things.
What are you doing here?
He asks. We've broken out from the crowd and stopped a little ways in front of the bonfire. Various groups of people wander past with drink bottles in their hands, laughing, though the area around the fire is largely empty. I'm doing things now, I say. I take hold of his shoulders and lean forward quite seriously. Why? When did you turn into a hipster? He gently removes my hand from his shoulder.
I'm serious,
he says. The band has stopped. There is momentary quiet, the air filled only with voices merging into one swirling noise. There are several of those flies at my feet. I sat outside the cafe for a whole hour, I say, hoping to make him feel really bad. If you don't tell me now why you're avoiding me, then we might as well just get it over with and stop being friends. He stiffens and turns red, even visible in the dim light. It dawns on me that we were never going to be best friends again.
He says. It is very difficult for me to be around you.
Why? It takes him a while to answer. He smooths his hair to one side and rubs his eye, and checks that his collar isn't turned up and scratches his knee. And then he starts to laugh.
You're so funny, Victoria.
He shakes his head.
You're just so funny.
At this, I get the sudden urge to punch him in the face. Instead, I descend into hysteria. For fuck's sake, what are you talking about? I begin to shout, but you can't really tell over the noise of the crowd. You're insane! I don't know why you're saying any of this to me. I don't know why you decided you wanted to be BFFs all over again, and now I don't know why you won't even look me in the eye. I don't understand anything you're doing or saying, and it's killing me, because I already don't understand a single thing about me, or Michael, or Becky, or my brother, or anything on this shitty planet. If you secretly hate me or something, you need to spit it out. I'm asking you to give me one straight answer, one sentence that might sort at least something out to my head, but no, you don't care, do you? You don't give a single shit for my feelings or anyone else's. You're just like everyone else.
You're wrong,
he says.
You're wrong.
Everyone's got such dreadful problems. I shake my head wildly, holding it with both hands. I start speaking in a posh voice for no reason. Even you, even perfect innocent Lucas has problems. He's staring at me in a kind of terrified confusion, and it's absolutely hilarious. I start to crack up. Maybe, everyone I know has problems. There are no happy people. Nothing works out, even when it's someone who you think is perfect, like my brother. I grin wildly at him. My brother, my little brother, he's so perfect, but he doesn't like food, like, literally doesn't like food, or, I don't know, he loves it. He loves it so much that it has to be perfect all the time, you know? I grab Lucas by one shoulder again so he understands. And then one day, he got so fed up with himself, he was so annoyed, he hated how much he loved food, yeah? So we thought it would be better if there wasn't any food. I start laughing so much that my eyes water. But that's so silly. Because you've got to eat food or you'll die, won't you? So my brother, Charlie, he thought it would be better if he got it over with then and there, so last year I hold up my wrist and pointed it. He hurt himself, and he wrote me this card telling me he was really sorry and all, but I shouldn't be sad because he was actually really happy about it. I shake my head and laugh, and you know it just makes me want to die. The fact that, like, all this time, I knew it was coming, but I didn't do anything. I didn't even say anything to anyone about it because I thought that I'd been imagining it. Well, didn't I get a nice surprise when I walked into the bathroom that day? There are tears running down my face. And you know what's literally hilarious? The card had a picture of a cake on it. He's not saying anything, and he doesn't find it hilarious, which strikes me as odd. He makes this pain sound and turns at a sharp right angle and strides away. I wipe tears of laughter from my eyes, and then I take that flyer out of my pocket and look at it. But the music has started again, and I'm too cold and my brain doesn't seem to be processing anything. Only that goddamn picture of that goddamn cake. Nine.
Victoria. Tori. Are you there?
Somebody is talking to me on the phone.
Where are you? Are you all right?
I am alone on the outskirts of the crowd. The music is gone. Everyone is waiting for the next band, and more people begin to join the crush, and it only takes a minute or two for me to once again be trapped in the heaving masses of bodies. The ground is covered in those flyers, and people have started to pick them up. Everything is happening very fast. I'm fine, I say at last. Charlie, I'm fine. I'm just on the field.
Okay, good. Nick and I are heading back to the car now. You need to come too.
There's a rustling as Nick takes the phone from Charlie.
Tori, listen to me. You need to get back to the car right now.
But I can barely hear Nick. I can barely hear Nick because something else is happening. There's a huge LED screen on the stage. Up until this point, it has been displaying decorative moving shapes and occasionally the names of the songs being played. Now it's gone black, leaving only the dots of the glow stick spread across the dark crowd. I begin to be jostled closer to the screen, the figures around me irresistibly drawn toward it. I turn away, intending to start to push my way out of the crowd, and that's when I see it. There's a figure. A boy figure, staring blankly from across the river. Is that Nick? I can't tell. Something's happening, I say into the phone, twisting back toward the screen.
Tori, you need to get back to the car. It's going to get insane out there.
The LED screen changes. It shines pure white, then blood red, then back to black.
Tori? Hello? Can you hear me?
There's a tiny red dot in the center of the screen.
Tori!
It magnifies and takes shape. It's the upside-down heart. The crowd screams as if Beyoncé has just graced the stage. I press the red button on my phone. And then a distorted, genderless voice begins.
Good evening, Solitarians.
Everyone puts their arms in the air and shrieks. With glee, with fear. I don't know anymore, but they're loving it. Bodies edge forward, crashing against one another. Everyone's sweating, and soon I'm struggling even to breathe.
Are we having a good time?
The ground vibrates as the voices screech across the air. The flyer I'd picked up is in my hand. I can't see Lucas, or Becky, or anyone I know. I need to get out. I throw my elbows outward and turn 180 degrees and begin to barge my way through the howling crowd.
We've popped in to tell you about a special event we're planning.
I push against the bodies, but I don't seem to be moving, They're staring upward at the screen as if hypnotized, shouting indiscernible strings of words. And then I see him again. I peek through the gaps in the heads of the crowd. There, across the river. The boy.
We want it to be a big surprise. This coming Friday. If you attend Harvey Green Grammar School, Hughs School, you had better be on your guard.
I squint. But it's so dark and the crowd is so loud and so happy and so terrifying, and I can't see who it is. I swivel my body back to the LED screen, elbows and knees digging into me at every angle, and there's a countdown timer now, showing with the days, hours, minutes, and seconds. The crowd has started to fist pump. 4 days, 1 hour, 26 minutes, 52 seconds. 4 days, 1 hour, 26 minutes, 48 seconds. 4 days, 1 hour, 26 minutes, 45 seconds.
It's going to be Solitaire's biggest operation yet.
And with that, all at once at least 20 fireworks go off within the crowd, shooting upward from the bodies like meteors and raining sparks down on the heads, one of which is only 5 meters away from me. Those closest release petrified screams, jumping backward and away from harm. But most of the screams are still screams of happiness, screams of excitement. The crowd begins to sway and shake, and I'm buffeted in every direction, my heart pounding so hard I think I might be dying. Yes, I'm dying. I'm going to die. Until eventually I burst out the edge of the crowd and find myself right on the riverbank. I gaze in horror at the crowd. Fireworks of all shapes and colours are continuously exploding among the bodies. At the edge I see several people fleeing, 1 or 2 on fire. A few feet away a girl collapses and has to be dragged away by her wailing friends. Most of them seem to be enjoying themselves, though, entranced by the rainbow lights.
Tori, spring!
For a moment, I think it's the Solitaire voice speaking to me, and my heart stops completely. But it's not. It's him. I hear him scream it. I turn around. He's across the river, which is narrow here, his face lit up by his phone like he's about to tell a scary story, out of breath in just a t-shirt and jeans. He begins to wave at me. I swear to God he must have an internal central heating system. I stare across at Michael. He's got a flask of something in one hand. Is that tea? I shout. He raises the flask and studies it, as if he'd forgotten all about it. He looks back at me and his eyes sparkle as he bellows into the night.
Tea is the elixir of life!
A fresh wave of screams ripple through the group near me, and I spin around only to find people backing away, squealing and pointing at a small light on the ground only 2 steps away from me. A small light slowly fizzling toward a cylinder, dug into the ground.
We would especially like to thank the Clay Festival Committee, who definitely did not allow us to be here.
It takes me precisely 2 seconds to realize that if I do not move, a firework is going to go off in my face.
Tori!
Michael's voice is all around me. I seem incapable of movement.
Tori! Jump into the river right now!
I turn my head toward him. It's almost tempting to just accept my fate and be done with it. His face is locked in an expression of pure terror. He pauses. And then he jumps into the river. It is 0 degrees out here. Holy! I say before I can stop myself. Shit!
Keep an eye on the blog. And keep an eye on each other. You are all important. Patience kills.
The light is nearing the cylinder. I have perhaps 5 seconds. 4.
Tori, jump into the river!
The screen cuts to black and the shrieking reaches its highest point. Michael is wading toward me, one hand outstretched, one holding his flask over his head. My only option.
Tori!
I leap from the bank into the river. Everything seems to slow. Behind me, the firework explodes. As I'm in mid-air, I see its reflection in the water. Yellows and blues and greens and purples dancing across the waves. And it's almost beautiful. But only almost. I land with a splash so cold that my legs nearly give way. And then I feel the pain on my left arm. I look at it. I take in the flames creeping up my sleeve. I hear Michael scream something, but I don't know what, and I plunge my arm into the icy water.
Oh my god.
Michael is wading out, holding his flask over his head. The river is at least 10 meters wide.
Sweet merciful fuck, it is freezing.
And remember, Solitarians, justice is everything.
The voice cuts out. Across the river, the crowd is hurrying through the town to their cars.
Are you alright?
Shouts Michael. I hesitantly lift my arm from the water. My coat sleeve's entirely burned away, and my jumper and shirt sleeve are in tatters. The skin peeking through is bright red. I press on it with my other hand. It hurts. A lot.
Holy fucking shit.
Michael tries to wade faster, but I can see him physically shaking. I step forward, further into the river, my body vibrating uncontrollably. Maybe from the cold, or maybe from the fact that I just escaped death, or maybe from the searing pain in my arm. I start to mumble deliriously. We'll kill ourselves. We're both killing ourselves. He cracks a grin. He's about halfway. The water's up to his chest.
Well, hurry up then. I don't feel like dying of hypothermia today.
The water has risen to my knees. Or maybe I've stepped forward again. Are you drunk? He raises his arms above his head and screams.
I am the soberest individual on this whole planet!
The water's at my waist. Am I walking forward? He's 2 meters away.
I'm just going out.
He calls in a sing-song voice.
I may be some time.
Then,
Mother of God, I am literally going to freeze to death.
I am thinking exactly the same thing.
What's wrong with you?
He asks. No need to shout now.
You just stood there.
I nearly died, I say, not really hearing him properly. I think I might be going into shock. The firework.
It's okay. You're okay now.
He lifts my arm and takes a look at it. He swallows and tries not to swear.
Okay, you're okay.
There are people. There are lots of hurt people.
Hey.
He finds my hand in the water and bends a little so our eyes are parallel.
It's okay. Everything is going to be okay. We'll go to the hospital.
Friday, I say. Solitaire is on Friday. We look back and the sight is magnificent. It's raining flyers. They're hailing down into the crowd from the large fan set up on stage, and the fireworks are still erupting across the field, each one eliciting a wave of shrieks from the festival goers. It's a storm. An honest-to-God storm. The sort of storm you go outside in just for the thrill of the risk of death. I've been looking for you, I say. I cannot feel most of my body. For some reason he puts his hands on either side of my face and leans forward and says,
Tori Spring, I've been looking for you forever.
The fireworks keep going, never ending, and Michael's face keeps flashing in rainbow colours, and the light gleams from his glasses, and several flyers swell around us like we're trapped in a hurricane, and the black water strangles us, and we're so close, and there are people shouting at us and pointing, but I couldn't really give a crap, and the cold is dissolved into some kind of numb ache, but it barely registers, and I think the tears freeze at my cheeks, and I don't really know what's happening, but through some kind of planetary force I find myself holding him like I don't know what else to do, and he's holding on to me like I'm sinking, and I think he kisses the top of my head, but it might just be a snowflake. But he definitely whispers.
Nobody cries alone.
Or it might have been.
Nobody dies alone.
And I feel that as long as I stay here, that there might be some kind of tiny chance that there is something remotely good in this world. And the last thing I remember thinking before I pass out from the cold is that if I were to die, I would rather be a ghost than go to heaven. 10. I think that it might be Monday. Last night was a blur. I remember waking up on the riverbank in Michael's arms. I remember the icy sting of the water and the smell of his t-shirt. And I remember running away. I think that I'm scared of something, but I can't tell what it is. I don't know what to say. I went to A&E. Nick and Charlie made me. I've got a big bandage on my arm now, but it's okay, it doesn't really hurt much at the moment. I have to take it off this evening and put this cream stuff on it. I am not looking forward to that. It sort of reminds me about Solitaire every time I look at it. It reminds me what this group is capable of. Everyone looks very happy today, and I don't like it. The sun is out on a murderous rampage, and I had to wear my sunglasses on my way to school because the sky, a great flat swimming pool, is trying to drown me. I sit in the common room, and Rita asks me what happened to my arm, and I tell her that Solitaire did it. She asks if I'm all right. The question makes me tear up, so I tell her that I'm fine and run away. I'm fine. I get flashes of life around me. Some unknown group of girls leaning back in their chairs. Semia 12 looking out to the window while her friends laugh around her. A laminated picture of a mountain featuring the word ambition, a blinking light. But I think what calms me down is my knowledge that I'm going to find out who Solitaire is, and what it is planning for Friday. And I'm going to stop it. By break time, I have counted 66 Solitaire posters in the school reading, Friday, Justice is Coming. Kent, Zelda, and the prefects are in an uproar, and you can no longer pass through a corridor without being overtaken by one of them as they snatch posters from the wall, muttering angrily to themselves. Today there are 2 new posts on the Solitaire blog. A photograph of last week's assembly, where a Solitaire poster popped up on the projector screen, and a picture of the Virgin Mary. I will print both of these out and stick them on my bedroom wall, where I have already stuck all of Solitaire's previous posts. My wall is nearly completely covered. First, Solitaire beat up a boy, and then it seriously injured a bunch of people, all for the purpose of putting on a good show, and everybody in the town is absolutely in love with it. It's clear to me now that if I do not stop Solitaire, nobody else will. At lunch I sense that I am being followed, but when I reach the IT department I reckon I've outsmarted them. I take a seat in C15, the room directly opposite C16 where I met Michael. There are 3 people with me in the room. Some Year 13 is scrolling down the University of Cambridge website, and a pair of Year 7s are playing the impossible quiz with immense concentration. They don't notice me. I boot up the computer and scroll up and down the Solitaire blog for 45 minutes. At some point my follower walks into C15. It's Michael, obviously. Still feeling guilty for running away and unwilling to talk about it, I dive past him and out of the room and begin to walk swiftly in no particular direction. He catches up to me. We're walking very fast. "What are you doing?" I ask.
I'm walking,
says Michael. We turn a corner.
Maths.
He says. We are in the maths corridor.
They make the displays so beautiful here because otherwise no one would like maths. Why would people think that maths is fun? All maths does is give you a false sense of achievement.
Kent exits a classroom a few paces ahead of us.
All right, Mr. Kent?
Says Michael. Kent gives him a vague nod and passes by us.
I definitely think he writes poetry.
Michael continues.
You can tell. In his eyes and the way he folds his arms all the time.
I come to a halt. We've made a full circle around Higgs' second floor. We stay very still, sort of looking at each other. He has a mug of tea in his hand. There's a weird moment where I think we both want to hug each other, but I quickly end it by turning around and walking back into C15. I sit at the computer I'd been staring at and he takes the seat next to me.
You ran off again,
he says. I don't look at him.
You didn't reply to my texts last night after you ran off,
he says.
I had to Facebook message Charlie to find out what happened to you.
I say nothing.
Did you get my texts? My voicemails? I was kind of worried that you'd caught hypothermia or something. And your arm. I was worried.
I don't remember there being any text or voicemails. I remember Nick shouting at me for being an idiot, and Charlie sitting next to me in the back rather than next to Nick in the passenger seat. I remember arriving at A&E and waiting for hours. I remember Nick falling asleep on Charlie's shoulder, and Charlie and I playing 20 questions and him winning every time. I remember not sleeping that night. I remember telling Mum that I would be going to school and that was final.
What are you doing?
He asks. What am I doing? I'm thinking. I am looking at myself in the black computer monitor. I'm doing something about Solitaire.
Since when are you interested in Solitaire?
Since I go to answer him, but I don't know the answer. He doesn't frown or smile, or anything. Why wouldn't I be interested? I ask. You're interested. You're the one who said that Solitaire was targeting me.
I just thought you weren't.
He says, his voice a little wobbly.
It's not like you to... I just didn't think you didn't care that much, originally.
That may be true. You're still interested, right? I ask, scared of the answer. Michael looks at me for a long moment.
I'd like to know who's behind it all. And I know what happened to Ben Hope was pretty nasty, and then last night... that was just downright idiotic. It's a miracle nobody died. Did you see the article on BBC News? The Clay Festival are passing it off as if it was their final show gone wrong or something. Solitaire didn't even get a mention. I guess the Clay Festival organisers didn't want anyone to know they'd been hijacked. And who's going to listen to a bunch of kids going on about some blog that organised it?
Michael's staring at me as if he's scared of me. I must have a very strange expression on my face. He tilts his head.
When was the last time you slept?
I don't bother to answer. We sit in silence for a moment before he tries again.
This is a very generic thing to say, but...
He pauses.
If you want to, talk about anything, people always need people to talk to. You don't talk much. I'm always here, to talk. You do know that, don't you?
The sentence is so broken up that I don't really grasp its concept, so I just nod enthusiastically. Judging by his slightly relieved smile, that seems to satisfy him. At least until he goes on to ask.
Are you going to tell me why you've changed your mind? Why you're being obsessive?
It hasn't struck me that I'm obsessing. I don't think that's the word I'd use. Someone has to.
Why?
It's important. No one cares about the important things anymore. I drift off. We're so used to disaster that we accept it. We think we deserve it. His smile, fleeting, fades.
I don't think anyone deserves disaster. I think a lot of people wish for disaster because it's the only thing left with the power to turn heads.
Attention seekers.
Some people don't get any attention,
he says. And here again is the boy from the ice rink. Serious, genuine, morose, old, and slightly angry.
Some people get no attention. You can understand why they'd go seeking it, if they're waiting forever for something that might never come.
I feel suddenly like I'm blind, or perhaps deaf, losing track of the conversation. He starts fishing for something in his bag and after a few moments withdraws a can, holding it out to me. It's a really obscure brand of diet lemonade. One of my favourites. He smiles, but it's forced.
I was at the shop and thought of you.
I look at the can, feeling something very strange in my stomach. Thanks. Another long pause. I say, when that firework was about to go off, I actually thought that I was going to die. I thought I was going to burn and die. He gazes at me.
But you didn't.
He really is a good person. Far too good to be hanging around someone like me. I almost laugh at myself for thinking something so cliché. I think I've said before that things are cliché because they are true. Well, there's one thing that I know is true, and that is that Michael Holden is too good for me. Later, 7 p.m, dinner. Mum and Dad are out somewhere. Nick and Charlie are at opposite ends of the table. I am next to Oliver. We're eating pasta with some meat in it. I'm not sure what the meat is. I cannot concentrate.
Tori, what's the matter?
Charlie waves his fork at me.
What's going on? Something's going on.
Solitaire is going on, I say. Yet no one cares. Everyone is sitting around talking about things that do not matter and pretending it's still some big hilarious joke. Nick and Charlie look at me like I'm crazy. Well, I am.
It's pretty weird that Solitaire hasn't been reported on, I guess.
Says Nick.
Even with that stuff at the Clay, Solitaire didn't even come into it. People don't seem to be taking Solitaire seriously.
Charlie sighs, cutting him off.
Whether Solitaire does or does not pull off something spectacular, There's no reason for Tori or anyone else to get involved. It's not our problem, is it? Shouldn't the teachers or, the police be doing something about it? It's their own fault for not bothering to do anything.
And that's when I know I've lost him as well. I thought you two were better than all this.
All what?
Charlie raises his eyebrows. All this stuff that people spend their time bothering with. I scrunch up my hands, placing them on my head. It's all fake! Everyone's fake! Why does no one care about anything?
Tori, seriously, are you alright?
Yes! I probably scream. Yes! I'm alright! Thanks! How about you? And then I get myself out of there just before I start to cry. Obviously, Charlie told Mum and Dad. When they get home, I'm not sure what time, they knock on my door. When I don't answer, they come in. What? I say. I am sitting upright on my bed and have been trying to choose a film to watch for the last 37 minutes. On the television, some news guy is talking about the suicide of a Cambridge student, and my laptop is on my legs like a sleeping cat, my blog homepage emitting its dim blue glow. Mum and Dad take a long look at my back wall. You can't see any part of the paint anymore. It's just a patchwork sheet of solitaire printouts. Hundreds of them.
What's the matter, Tori?
Asks Dad, averting his eyes from the display. I do not know.
Did you have a bad day?
Yes, always.
Come on now, there's no need to be so melodramatic.
Mum sighs, apparently disappointed in something. I make a fake hurling sound. Mum sighs again. Dad imitates her.
Well, we'll leave you to your misery then,
he says.
If you're going to be sarcastic.
Ha ha, sarcastic. They roll their eyes and leave. I start to feel sick. I think it's my bed. I don't know. I don't even know. So my ingenious solution for this is for me to pathetically flop off my bed and onto the floor, propping myself sluggishly up against my solitaire wall. My room is half dark. Friday. Friday. Friday, 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 Friday. 11. Mum, I say, it's Tuesday, 7:45 a.m., and I have no skirt. This is one of those situations where talking to my mum is unavoidable. Mum, can you iron my school skirt? Mum doesn't say anything because she's on the kitchen computer in her dressing gown. You'd think she was ignoring me deliberately, but she really is that engrossed in whatever dumb email she's writing. Mum, I say again. Mum, 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 Mum.
What?
Can you iron my school skirt?
Can't you wear the other one?
It's too small. It's been too small since we bought it.
Well, I'm not ironing your school skirt. You iron it.
I've never ironed anything in my life, and I have to leave in 15 minutes.
That's annoying.
Yes, it is, Mum. She doesn't answer me. Jesus Christ. So I guess I'm going to school with no skirt.
I guess you are.
I grate my teeth together. I have to catch the bus in 15 minutes, and I'm still in my pyjamas. Do you care? I ask. Do you care that I have no skirt?
At the moment, Tori, no. It's in the airing cupboard. It's just a bit crinkled.
Yeah, I found it. It's supposed to be a pleated skirt, Mom. Currently, there are no pleats.
Tori, I'm really busy.
But I don't have a skirt to wear to school.
Wear your other skirt then, for Christ's sake.
I literally just told you it's too small.
Tori, I really don't care.
I stop talking. I look at her. I wonder if I'll end up like her, not caring whether my daughter has a skirt to wear to school. And then I realise something. You know what, Mum? I say, starting to actually laugh at myself. I don't even think I care either. So I go upstairs and put on my grey school skirt that is too small and put my old PE shorts over my tights so you can't see anything. And then I attempt to sort out my hair, but oh, guess what? I don't care about that either. And then I go to put some makeup on, but no, wait. I also don't care what my face looks like. So I go back downstairs and pick up my school bag and leave the house with Charlie, basking in the light and glory that comes with not giving a damn about anything in the entire universe. I'm feeling kind of like a ghost today. I sit on a swivel chair in the common room, fiddling with the bandage on my arm, and watch out the window, some Year 7s chucking snowballs at one another. They're all smiling.
Tori,
calls Becky from a little way across the room.
I need to talk to you.
Begrudgingly, I rise from the chair and weave through the sixth form crowd to get to her. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to walk through people?
How's your arm?
She asks. She's acting super awkward. I'm past that now. I'm past awkward. Why should I care what anyone thinks anymore? Why should I care about anything anymore? It's fine, I say. An obligatory answer to an obligatory question.
Look, I'm not going to apologize, yeah? I wasn't in the wrong.
She talks as if she's blaming me for being angry at her.
I'm just going to come out and say what we've both been thinking. We haven't been acting like friends recently, have we?
I say nothing.
And I'm not just talking about what happened at... what happened. It's been going on for months. It's like you don't really want to be friends with me. It's like you don't like me.
It's not that I don't like you, I say. But I don't know how to continue. I don't know what it is.
If we can't act like friends, then there's no real point in us carrying on being friends.
As she's saying this, her eyes get a little watery. I can't think of anything to say. I met Becky on the first day of Year 7. We sat next to each other in form and in science. We passed notes and we played MASH, and I helped to decorate her locker with pictures of Orlando Bloom. She let me money for cookies at break time. She always spoke to me, even though I was one of the quiet ones. 5.5 years later, here we are.
I don't think that we are compatible,
she says.
I don't think that it is possible for us to be friends anymore. You have changed. I might have changed too, but you have definitely changed. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's true.
So it's my fault we're not friends anymore. Becky doesn't react.
I'm not sure that you need me anymore.
Why is that?
You don't like being around me, do you?
I laugh, exasperated, and I forget everything except her and Ben. Her and Ben. Her and the guy who beat up my brother. Are you trying to gain sympathy here? Are you breaking up with me? This isn't a rom-com, Becky. We're not in a lesbian drama. She frowns, disappointed.
You're not taking me seriously. Stop with all this crap,
she says.
Just stop, yeah? Cheer up. I know you're a pessimist. I've known you for 5 years, but this is getting out of hand. Go and hang around with Michael some more.
What? I scoff. So he can fix me. So he can teach me how to stop being me. I laugh loudly. He shouldn't be hanging around with someone like me. She stands up.
You should try and find people who are more like you. They'll be better for you.
There is no one like me.
I think you're breaking down.
I cough loudly. I'm not a car. And she is furious. Like Jesus, actual rage is steaming from her face. It takes all her effort not to shout her last word.
Fine.
Becky thunders over to the crowd who I used to consider myself a part of. I should feel like I have lost something, but the feeling inside my blood retains the same density of nothing. I start listening to my iPod. Some sad album, something really self-pitying, and I roll over the facts in my head. The top post on the Solitaire blog today is a screen cap from Fight Club. Charlie couldn't eat this morning. He cried when I tried to make him, so I gave up. It was probably my fault for being angry at him yesterday. I have 3 unread texts from Michael Holden and 26 unread messages on my blog. It's later. I've come back to C16, the decaying computer room on the 2nd floor where I found that post-it note. I can tell that nobody's been in here. The sun lights up the dust floating in the air. As I'm looking out of the window, my face pressed against the glass, I notice that there is a tall metal staircase just outside to my left. Its top step is parallel to the window I'm staring through. It leads onto the concrete roof of the art conservatory, a newly built classroom that juts out from the ground floor and spirals all the way down to the ground. I don't think I've ever seen this staircase before. I exit C16, trot down to the ground floor, go outside and scale the metal staircase all the way to the top. Even though I'm not on the roof of the school itself, Standing on the roof of the art conservatory is fairly dangerous, being at second floor level. I sneak a look down onto the grass below. The grass slopes down slightly from the room onto the field. I look out. The slushy field opens out into the distance. The river slowly tumbles on. I sit down so my legs are hanging off the edge. No one can see or find me here. It's period 4, nearly lunchtime, and I'm skipping music for the 100th time. It doesn't matter. I bring up the Solitaire blog on my phone. The countdown timer is at the top of the screen. I find myself checking it continually. 02, 12, 23, 26. 2 days, 12 hours, 23 minutes, 26 seconds, until Thursday turns into Friday. Solitaire antics today have been focused around the number 2. Hundreds of posters on post-its on every surface, written on old whiteboards, popping up on the computers. From here I can see that the number 2 is painted in red directly onto the snow of the field. It looks a bit like blood. A little ways away from the number 2 on the field is a large wooden object. I stand up and step backward. I realise that it's Kent's lectern from which he's led our school assemblies. A small congregation of students has gathered outside, staring, like me, clearly waiting for something exciting to happen. At the front of the crowd, Quiff Guy is standing with a camera in his hands. I fold my arms. My blazer flaps out behind me in the wind. I suppose I look very dramatic standing here on the roof. Painted on the front of the lectern is Solitaire's anarchy symbol. Its face, the side that Kent would stand at when speaking, is directed away from us, staring wistfully out over the snowy field and down into the town and river beyond. Music, Ludovico Einaudi, begins to play out of the outside loudspeaker, blending into the sigh of a steady breeze. A piece of paper, one of Kent's past assemblies clipped onto the lectern somehow, lifts up and flickers as the wind encircles it as if gesturing, "Come here, to the town and the river." Then the lectern catches fire. It's over in less than 30 seconds, but it feels longer. A spark from its base sends the entire wooden body into flames, and the flames double the size of the lectern, magnifying it, expanding it. It's sort of beautiful. The reddish-orange of the spectacle sends a dim glow across the snow so that the entire field is slightly alight, wavering up and down. The wind is so strong that the fire begins to vortex around the wood, shooting shards of blackened charcoal outward in every direction, a tunnel of smoke coughing upward. Slowly the darkness creeps across the pale wood. It cracks. The lectern takes its last lingering look at what freedom might have been. Then, all at once, the entire frame crumbles into a destroyed heap, and the once blazing fire subsides. What's left is little more than a pile of soot and ash. I'm paralyzed. The scattering of students on the field are shrieking and screaming, but not with fear. One small girl steps out to retrieve a broken piece of the lectern, bringing it back to her friends. Teachers begin to show, barking reprimands and shooing people away. I watch as the girl drops the piece of the lectern upon the snow. Once the field is clear, I tear down the stairs and run across the snow to rescue it. I study the piece of burnt wood. I then stare back toward the pile of remains, then the greyish snow, then the long and omnipresent river, and I think about the sea of anonymous students who had been so excited to watch this. It reminds me of the people who watched the beating up of Ben Hope, jeering, laughing at pain. The crowd that had jumped up and down like children at the fireworks at the Clay, while the injured ran, terrified, burning. I close my fist. The piece of wood dissolves into black dust. "12. When I get to school on Wednesday, I watch out for Michael Holden in the common room crowds. I wonder whether seeing him will make me feel better, or worse. It could go either way. I know I'm dragging him down. Seeing me cannot make Michael Holden feel better. He deserves to have a friend who loves life and laughter, who loves having fun and having adventures, someone to drink tea with and argue about books and stargaze and ice skate and dance with. Someone who isn't me. Becky, Lauren, Evelyn and Rita are sitting in our spot in the corner. No Ben, no Lucas. Like the beginning of the year all over again. I stand at the door to the common room, kind of staring at them. Evelyn is the only one who sees me. She catches my eye, then quickly looks away. Even if I could quietly overlook her exceedingly irritating hair and clothing choices like a decent and accepting human being should, Evelyn has always done many things that I have not approved of, such as thinking she is better than other people, and pretending to know more than she does. I wonder whether she dislikes me as much as I dislike her. I take a seat in a swivel chair away from our lot, thinking about all my personal attributes. Pessimist, mood killer, unbearably awkward and probably paranoid, deluded, nasty, borderline insane, manically depressed psychopath.
Tori.
I spin around on the chair. Michael Holden's found me. I look up at him. He's smiling, but it looks weird. Fake. Or am I imagining that? It's Wednesday today, I say instantly, unwilling to build up our conversation with small talk, but doing it anyway. He blinks but doesn't act too taken aback.
Yes it is.
I suppose, I say, curling onto the desk with my chin on my arm. I don't like Wednesday because it's the middle day. You feel like you've been at school for ages, but it's still ages until the weekend. It's the most disappointing day. As he takes this in, something else kind of weird crosses his expression, almost like panic or something. He coughs.
Can we, talk somewhere quieter?
I really do not want to have to get up, but he persists.
Please? I've got some news.
As we're walking, I stare into the back of his head. In fact, I just stare at his whole body. I've always thought of Michael Holden as this kind of entity, this sparkling orb of wonder. And yet now, looking at him walking along in his average school uniform, hair kind of soft and messy compared to how he had it gelled when I first met him, I find myself thinking about the fact that he's just a normal guy. That he gets up and goes to bed. That he listens to music and watches TV. That he revises for exams and probably does homework. That he sits down to dinner. That he showers and brushes his teeth. Normal stuff. What am I talking about? He takes me to the school library. It's not as quiet as he'd hoped. There are lower school girls swarming around the desks in exactly the same way that the sixth formers do in the common room, except with much more enthusiasm. There are not many books. It's actually more of a large room with a few bookshelves and a library. The atmosphere is kind of strange. I'm almost glad that it's so bright and happy in here. It's an odd feeling, because I never like bright and happy things. We sit down in the middle of the non-fiction row. He's looking at me, but I don't want to look back anymore. Looking at his face makes me feel funny.
You were hiding yesterday,
he says, trying to make it sound like a cute joke, as if we're 6 years old. For a second I wonder if he knows about my special beautiful place on the art conservatory roof. But that's impossible.
How's your arm?
He asks. It's fine, I say. Didn't you have something to tell me? And the pause he leaves then. It's like he has everything he wants to tell me. And nothing.
Are you all...
He begins, then changes his mind.
Your hands are cold.
I stare blankly at my hands, still avoiding his eyes. Had he been holding my hand on the way here? I curl my palms into fists and sigh. Fine. Small talk it is. I watched all 3 Lord of the Rings last night and V for Vendetta. Oh, and I had a dream. I think it was about Winona Ryder. And I can feel the sadness pouring out of him all of a sudden. It makes me want to get up and run away and keep running. I also found out that approximately 100 billion people have died since the world began. Did you know that? 100 billion. It's a big number, but it still doesn't seem like quite enough. There's a long silence. A few of the lower school groups are looking at us and giggling, thinking we're having some kind of deep romantic conversation. Finally, he says something productive.
I guess neither of us have been sleeping much.
I decide to look at him then. It shocks me a little, because there's none of the usual Michael in that smile. And I think of the time at the ice rink when he'd been so angry. But it's different from that. And I think of the sadness that's been in Lucas's eyes since the day I met him. But it's different from that too. Split between the green and the blue, there is an indefinable beauty that people call humanity. You don't have to do this anymore. I'm whispering, Not because I don't want people to hear, but I seem to have forgotten how to increase the volume of my voice. You don't have to be my friend. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. I'm literally 110% fine. Really. I understand what you've been trying to do, and you are a very nice person. You're the perfect person, actually. But it's okay. You don't have to pretend anymore. I'm fine. I don't need you to help me. I'll do something about all this, and then I'll be alright, and it'll go back to normal. His face doesn't change. He reaches toward me with his hand and brushes what must be a tear from my face. Not in a romantic way, but as if I had a malaria-carrying mosquito perched on my cheek. He looks at the tear, somewhat confused, then holds his hand up to me. I hadn't realized I was crying. I don't really feel sad. I don't feel anything.
I'm not a perfect person,
he says. His smile is still there, but it's not a happy smile.
And I don't have any friends except for you. In case you hadn't heard, most people know that I'm the king of freaks. I mean, yeah, sometimes I come across as charming and eccentric, but eventually people realize that I'm just trying too hard. I'm sure Lucas Ryan and Nick Nelson can tell you all kinds of wonderful stories about me.
He leans back. He looks annoyed, to be honest.
If you don't want to be friends with me, I completely understand. You don't have to make some excuse about it. I know that I'm the one who always comes to find you. I'm the one who always starts our conversations. Sometimes you don't say anything for ages, but that doesn't mean that our friendship is all about me trying to make you feel better. You know me better than that.
Maybe I don't want to be friends with Michael Holden. Maybe that's better. We sit together for a while. I randomly select a book from the shelf behind me. It's called The Encyclopedia of Life, and it can only be about 50 pages long. Michael reaches out his hand toward me, but doesn't, as I anticipate, take my own hand. Instead, he takes hold of a strand of my hair, which I guess had sort of been in my face, and he tucks it carefully behind my left ear. Did you know, I say at some point, for some inexplicable reason, that most suicides happen in the springtime? Then I look at him. Didn't you say you had news? And then he gets up and walks away from me and out of the library door and out of my life. And I am 100% sure that Michael Holden deserves better friends than the pessimist, introvert, psychopath, Tori Spring. "13. The song repeating itself over the loudspeaker throughout Thursday is The Final Countdown by Europe. Most people enjoy this for the first hour, but by second period no one is screaming, "It's the final countdown!" in the hallways anymore, much to my delight, if that's possible for me. Zelda and her entourage are once again strutting through the hallways, tearing posters from the walls, and today these include pictures of Nelson Mandela, Desmond Tutu, Abraham Lincoln, Emmeline Pankhurst, Winston Churchill, and oddly enough, Christmas chart toppers Rage Against the Machine. Perhaps Solitaire is attempting to offer us some sort of positive encouragement. It has been snowing violently since I woke up. This, of course, sparks mass hysteria and insanity in everyone in the lower school, and a kind of collective depression in everyone in the upper school. Most of the students have gone home by break, and lessons are officially cancelled. I could easily walk home, but I don't. Tomorrow is the day. At the start of what would have been period 3, I exit the school building and head toward the art conservatory. I sit down, leaning against the little grass slope that leads up to the room's concrete wall, and the roof above me overhangs a little, so I'm not really getting snowed on. It's cold, though. Like, numbingly cold. On my way outside, I pick up a large heater from the music block and plug it in via a classroom window a few meters away. I've got it nestled into the snow next to me, blasting clouds of warmth around my body. I have 3 shirts on, both of my school jumpers, 4 pairs of tights, boots, blazer, coat, hat, scarf, and gloves, and shorts under my skirt. If I don't find out what's happening tomorrow before tomorrow, then I'll have to come to school and find out on the day. Solitaire is going to do something to Hughs. It's what it's been doing all the way up until now, isn't it? I feel strangely excited. It's probably because I haven't slept for quite a long time. Last night I watched a film called Garden State. Not all of it, but most of it. It really surprised me that I hadn't seen it before, because I thought it was absolutely excellent in every possible way, and I mean that. I gave it a spot to my top films list. It's about this guy, Andrew, and you're never quite sure whether Andrew's life is truly depressing or not. It seems like he has no decent friends or family, but then he meets this girl, typical happy-go-lucky, corky and beautiful manic pixie dream girl Natalie Portman, of course, who teaches him how to live properly again. You know, now that I think about it, I'm not so sure that I like the film so much after all. It was very cliché. To be honest, I may have just got myself caught up in the artistic effects. It was good at the beginning, especially when Andrew dreamt that he was in a plane crash, and the shot where he wears a shirt that matches the wallpaper print behind him so he sort of fades away. I liked those bits a lot. It's very obvious that Zach Braff, who wrote, directed, acted, and compiled the soundtrack, created this film about himself. Maybe that's what made it so real to me. I keep typing Michael's number into my phone and then deleting it. After about 10 minutes of this, I realise I know his number by heart. I curse myself for acting like such a dumb teenage girl. Then I accidentally press the green call button. I swear resigningly at myself. But I don't hang up. I bring the phone up to my ear. I hear the little click of the call being answered, but he doesn't say hello or anything. He listens. I think I hear him breathing, but it might just be the wind. "Hello, Michael," I finally say. Nothing. "I'm going to talk so you can't hang up." Nothing. "Sometimes," I say. I can't tell whether people are real or not. Lots of people pretend to be nice to me, so I'm never sure. Nothing. I'm
fairly angry at you, Tori, to be honest.
He speaks. The words circle around my head, and I want to roll over and throw up.
You don't see me as a person at all, do you?
He says.
I'm just some tool who's always turning up to stop you hating yourself so much.
That's wrong, I say. That's completely wrong.
Prove it.
I try to speak, but nothing comes out. My proof is shrouded by something like snow, and I can't get it out. I can't explain that yes, he stops me hating myself so much, but no, that isn't why I want to be his friend, more than I've ever wanted anything. He laughs weakly.
You're pretty hopeless, aren't you? You're as bad as I am at feelings.
I try to think about when Michael might have expressed his feelings. That the only time I can think of is at the ice rink. That anger. So crazy that he might explode. Can we meet up? I ask. I need to talk to him. In the real world.
Why?
Because once again my voice is trapped in my throat. Because I like being with you. There is a long pause. For a brief moment I wonder if he hung up. Then he sighs.
Where are you right now?
He asks.
Have you gone home?
On the field. By the art conservatory.
But it's literally hot out there.
A Star Wars reference. It takes me so by surprise that I once again fail to say anything in reply.
I'll see you in a minute,
he says. I hang up. He is here in almost exactly a minute, which is impressive. He's not wearing a coat or a scarf or anything over his uniform. I think he may secretly be a radiator. Several meters away he absorbs the situation. I suppose it's funny and that's why he laughs.
You took a heater outside?
I look at the heater. I am freezing. He thinks I'm insane. He's not wrong.
That is genius. I don't even think I would do that.
He sits next to me, leaning against the art conservatory's outer wall. We stare over the field. It's uncertain really where the field stops and the sheet-like snowflakes begin. The snow is falling slowly and vertically. I would say that there is total peace on Earth, except every now and then a solitary snowflake flies into my face. At some point, he glances down at my left arm, which is resting on the snow between us. He doesn't say anything about it. You had news to tell me, I say. It's pretty amazing I even remember this. But you didn't tell me. His head turns to me, his smile absent.
Yeah. Well, it's not too important.
That means that it is important.
I just wanted to tell you that I have another race in a few weeks,
he says, a little embarrassed.
I'm going to the World Junior Speed Skating Championships.
He shrugs and smiles.
I mean, the British never win, but if I get a good enough time score there, I might qualify for the Youth Winter Olympics.
I spring forward from the wall. Holy shit! He shrugs again.
I mucked up nationals a couple of weeks ago, but I've gotten better times than that before, so they decided to let me go.
Michael, I say, you're literally extraordinary. He laughs. He is extraordinary. Extraordinary as in magnificent, as in miraculous.
So, would you like to?
He asks. Like to what? I ask.
Would you like to come? To watch? I'm allowed to take someone, and usually it's a parent, but, you know.
And without thinking, without wondering whether my parents would say yes, without even worrying about Charlie, yeah, I say. Okay. He grins at me, and then I see a new expression that makes my chest hurt. A kind of raw gratitude, as if me going with him was the only thing that mattered. I open my mouth to begin a serious conversation, but he sees it coming and holds up a finger to stop me.
We are severely wasting this snow,
he says. I can see myself in his glasses. Wasting. He jumps onto 2 feet and walks into the blizzard.
Snow shouldn't be just to look at, should it?
He says, rolling a snowball in his hands and tossing it from one to the other. I say nothing, because I think that's exactly what snow should be for.
Come on.
He's smiling, gawking at me.
Throw a snowball at me.
I frown. Why?
For no reason.
There's no point.
The point is that there is no point.
I sigh. I'm not going to win this argument. Begrudgingly, I stand up, step out into the Arctic, and with little enthusiasm collect a ball of snow in my hands. Luckily, I'm right-handed, so my injured arm doesn't really put me at a disadvantage. I throw it toward Michael, where it lands about 3 meters to his right. He looks at it and gives me a solemn thumbs up acceptingly.
You tried.
There's something in the way he says it, not even patronizing, just simply disappointed, that it makes me squint at him, pick up another snowball and try again, this time landing bang on target in the center of his chest. A false sense of achievement blossoms in my stomach. Raising his arms in the air, he cries,
"You're alive!"
I throw another snowball. Then he throws one at me and runs away. Before I even have time to realize what I'm doing, the whole thing erupts into chaos around the field. I fall over more than once, but I manage to stuff snow down the back of his shirt 2 times, and he gets me right in the back of the head, so my hair is now soaked. But I don't feel so cold because we're running around face first into the swirling snow like there's nothing else in the world but the 2 of us, and snow, and more snow, and more snow, no ground, no sky, no nothing. I begin to wonder how Michael can so easily make something wonderful out of something cold. And then I begin to wonder whether lots of people are like this. And I begin to wonder whether if I wasn't so busy thinking about other things, I would be like this. Michael Holden is sprinting toward me. He's got a massive pile of snow in his arms and a psychotic grin. So I charge back across the field and into the school. There's no one anywhere and the emptiness is somehow wonderful. I run into the 6th form block and into the common room, which is entirely deserted, but I'm much too slow. Just as I open the common room doors, he lets the slush tumble onto the top of my head. I scream and laugh. Laugh? Laugh. I lie face up, panting on a computer desk, moving the keyboard onto my stomach to make room. He collapses onto a swivel chair, shaking his hair like a wet dog. The chair rolls backwards several inches, and it sparks an idea in his head.
Here's the next game,
he says.
You have to get from here...
He gestures to the computer corner.
To there.
The door on the opposite side, past the maze of tables and chairs.
Standing on a computer chair.
I'd rather not break my neck.
Stop being boring. You're banned from saying no.
But that's my catchphrase.
Make a new one.
With a long sigh, I step up onto a swivel chair. This is a lot more difficult than it looks, because not only are swivel chairs very wobbly, but they also spin around, hence the name swivel chair. I gain my balance, stand tall, and point at Michael, who has stood up on his own chair with his arms wearily outstretched. When I fall and die, I'm coming back to haunt you. He shrugs at me.
That wouldn't be so bad.
We race all the way around the tables, grasping at the plastic chairs to haul ourselves along. At one point, Michael's chair tips up, but he spectacularly manages to step forward over the back of the seat, landing before me in a sort of kneeling position. His face, wide-eyed, rests in a fairly stunned expression for several seconds before he beams up at me, throwing open his arms and crying,
"Marry me, my darling!"
It's so funny I nearly die. He comes over to me and starts spinning around the chair I'm standing on. Not fast, but fast enough. And then he lets go. I'm standing up, twirling around and around on this chair with my arms in the air, the windows of snow merging with the unlit room in a slushy vortex of white and yellow. I keep thinking as I'm spinning, how everything looks so sad. But if today were to go down in history, everyone would talk about what a beautiful day it was. We pushed all the spare desks together to form one enormous table, and were laid out in the middle on our backs just under the skylights that we can see the snow falling on top of us. Michael rests his hands on his stomach, locked together, and I lay mine out beside me. I have no idea what we're doing, or why. I think he thinks that's the point. To be honest, this could all be imaginary, and I wouldn't even know.
Thought for the day,
says Michael. He lifts one hand and touches the bandage on my arm, fiddling with the frayed edge of my wrist.
Do you think that if we were happy for our entire lives, we would die feeling like we'd missed out on something?
I do not say anything for some time. Then, they were from you. Those blog messages, those messages that I'd assumed. You send me those messages. He smiles, keeping his eyes on the ceiling.
What can I say? Your blog is more interesting than you think, chronic pessimist.
My blog URL. Normally I'd feel like dying if someone found my blog. If Becky or Lauren or Evelyn or Rita, or any of those people. If they found the place where I say stupid stuff about myself, pretending that I'm some unfortunate and tortured teenage soul begging for sympathy from people who I've never even seen in the flesh. I roll my head toward him. He looks at me.
What?
I almost say something then. I almost say something. But I don't. And then he says,
I wish I were more like you.
And the snow falls, and I close my eyes and we fall asleep together. I wake up and he's gone, and I'm in the dark, alone. No, not alone. There's someone here. Someone. Here. All my senses come back to me. I begin to decipher hushed voices coming from the common room door. If I had any energy I would sit up and look, but I don't. I lie still and listen.
No,
says Michael.
You've been acting like a little shit. You can't fuck around with someone like that. Do you understand how she's feeling at the moment? Do you understand what you've done?
Yeah, but...
You give the full explanation, or you say nothing. You be honest, or you shut the fuck up. Dropping little hints and then hiding is literally the worst thing you could do.
I haven't been dropping little hints.
What have you said to her? Because she knows, Lucas. She knows there's something going on.
I've tried to explain.
No, you haven't. So you're going to go and tell her everything you've just told me. You owe that to her. She's a real person, not some childhood dream. She has real feelings.
There was a long pause.
Jesus fucking Christ. This is a fucking revelation.
I haven't heard Michael swear so much all in one conversation. I haven't heard Michael and Lucas talk to each other since Pizza Express. I don't think I want to know what they're talking about. I sit up, still on the table, and swivel around to face the two boys. They're standing in front of the door, Michael holding it by one hand. Lucas sees me first, then Michael. Michael looks a little like he's going to be sick. He takes Lucas firmly by the shoulders and shoves him toward me.
If you are going to do anything about anything,
he says, addressing me, pointing viciously at Lucas.
You need to talk to him.
Lucas is terrified. I half expect him to scream like a girl. Michael triumphantly raises his fist in the air in a Jude Nelson-like fashion.
Closure!
He bellows, and then he leaves the room. It is just Lucas and me now, my former best friend, the boy who cried every day, and Tori Spring, standing beside my table island, wrapped in a kind of parka over his uniform. He's wearing one of those hats with the really long plates hanging down at the front, and looks absolutely hysterical. I cross my legs like you do in primary school. There's no time for being awkward now. No time for being shy or being scared what other people would say. It's time to start saying the things that are in our heads. Everything that would cause us to hold back, it's gone. And we are only people. And this is the truth.
Your new bestie is crazy,
says Lucas with noticeable resentment. I shrug. Michael at Troom, Michael with no friends. Apparently, everyone already knew that. Michael the freak. To be honest, I think it's just a defense mechanism. This seems to surprise Lucas. I snort a little and lie back onto the tables. So you owe me an explanation, I say in a dramatic voice, but it's too funny and I start to laugh. He chuckles, takes his hat off and puts it in his pocket and folds his arms.
To be honest, Victoria, I can't believe you haven't guessed.
Well, then I must be some kind of idiot.
Yeah.
Silence. We're both totally still.
You do know,
he says, taking another step closer.
You need to think carefully. You need to think about all the things that have happened.
I get to my feet and step backward. There is nothing inside my head except fog now. Lucas clambers onto the table island and walks a little ways across toward me, nervously, as if he's scared they're going to collapse under his weight. He tries to explain again.
Do you remember ever coming to my house when we were kids?
I really want to laugh, but I can't anymore. He looks down a little and sees the bandage on my arm, and it almost seems to make him shudder.
We were best friends, yeah?
He says, but that means nothing. Becky was my best friend. Best friend. What does that indicate? What? I shake my head. What are you talking about?
You do remember,
he says, his voice barely above a whisper.
If I remember, then you remember. Tell me about when you came round my house all those times. Tell me what you saw there.
He's right. I do remember. I wish I didn't. It was summer. We were 11. It was nearing the end of year 6. I went round his house what felt like 100 times. We played chess, we sat in the garden, we ate ice lollies. We ran all around his house. It was a big house, 3 floors with an abundance of hiding places. Everything was kind of beige. They had a lot of paintings. A lot of paintings. They had a lot of paintings. And there was one that I remember. I asked Lucas when I was 11. Is that a painting of the High Street?
Yep,
he said. He was smaller than me back then. His hair white blonde.
The cobbled High Street in the rain.
I like the red umbrellas, I said. I think it must be summer rain.
I think so too.
The painting of the wet cobbled street with red umbrellas and warm cafe windows. The painting that Dr. Who girl was staring at so intently at the Solitaire party. It is inside Lucas's house. I begin to breathe very fast. That painting, I say. He says nothing. But the Solitaire party. That wasn't your house. You don't live in this town.
No,
he says.
My parents are in real estate. They own several empty houses. That house was one of them. They put those paintings in there to brighten it up for viewers.
Everything suddenly clicks into place. You're part of Solitaire, I say. He nods slowly.
I made it,
says Lucas.
I made Solitaire.
I step back. No, I say. No, you didn't.
I made that blog. I organised the pranks.
Star Wars, violins, cats, Madonna, Ben Hope and Charlie, fire, bubbles, the fireworks at the clay and the burning and the distorted voice. Surely I would have recognised his voice. I step back. You're lying.
I'm not.
I step back, but there isn't any table to step back onto, and my foot falls onto the air and I topple backward into nothingness, only to be caught under my arms by Michael Holden, who's been standing by us since God knows when. He lifts me a little and settles me on the ground. His hands feel strange on my arms. I can't speak. I'm choking. My throat is closing. You're a sadistic.
I know, I'm sorry. It all got a bit out of hand.
Got a bit out of hand! I shriek with laughter. People could have died! Michael's arms are around me. I throw him off, climb back onto the table and march toward Lucas, who cowers a little as I face him. All the pranks were related to me, weren't they? I say this more to myself than him. Michael had realised right from the start. Because he's clever, he's so clever, and I, being me, didn't bother to listen to anyone except myself. Lucas nods. Why did you make Solitaire? I say. He can't breathe. His mouth turns in and he swallows.
I'm in love with you,
he says. At that moment I consider my options. One is to punch him in the face. Another is to jump out of the window. The option I go with is to run. So now I'm running. You don't pull pranks on a school because you're in love with someone. You don't get a whole party to attack someone because you're in love with someone. I'm running through our school, into and out of classrooms I've never entered, through dark and empty corridors I never pass through anymore, all while Lucas is in pursuit, crying out that he wants to explain properly, as if there's more to explain. There isn't more to explain. He's a psycho, like everyone. He doesn't care that people get hurt, like everyone. I find myself at a dead end in the art department. It's the room I stood on top of only 2 days ago. The art conservatory. I dart around the room, desperately looking for somewhere to go, as Lucas stands breathing heavily at the door. The windows are too small to jump out of.
Sorry,
he says, still panting, hands on his knee.
Sorry, that was kind of sudden. That didn't make any sense.
I practically screech with laughter. You think?
Am I allowed to explain properly?
I look at him. Is this the final explanation? He stands up straight.
Yes, it is.
I sit down on a stool. He sits on a stool next to mine. I edge away but don't say anything. He begins his story.
I never forgot anything about you. Every time we drove down your road, I would look at your house, pretty much praying that you'd step out of your door at just the right moment. I used to come up with all these scenarios where I would contact you and we would be friends again. Like, we'd find each other on Facebook and start chatting and decide to meet up. Or we'd meet randomly somewhere in the high street at a party. I don't know. When I grew older, you became like that one girl, you know? The one girl who I would end up having that great romance with. We start as childhood friends. We'd meet again, older, and that would be it. Happily ever after, like a film. But you're not the Victoria I had in my head. I don't know. You're someone else. Someone I don't know, I guess. I don't know what I was thinking. Look, I'm not a stalker or anything. I came for a tour of Hughs last term to see if I liked it, you know. Michael showed me around. He took me all over the school, and the last place I visited was the common room. And that's where I saw you, sitting literally right in front of me. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. You were on a computer, but you had your back to me. You were sitting there at the computer playing Solitaire, and you looked so... You had one hand on your head, and the other just clicking and clicking the mouse, and you looked so dead. You looked tired and dead. And under your breath, you kept saying over and over, I hate myself, I hate myself, I hate myself. Not loud enough for anyone to hear except me. It seems dumb now. I bet you were just stressed about coursework or something. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then I started to get all these ideas. I thought that maybe you really did hate yourself. And I hated the school for doing that to you. I literally went into rages thinking about it. And that's when I came up with Solitaire. I talked to a guy I knew from Troom who joined Hughs, and we decided to stop pulling pranks. I had this crazy idea that just a few small acts of hilarity might bring something bright into your life, and into everyone's lives. So yeah, I organized the Ben Hope thing. I was so angry about what had happened to Charlie. Ben deserved that. But then the thing at the Clay happened. People got injured. You got injured. It got out of control. So after that, I quit. I haven't done anything since Sunday. But there's so many followers now. We made them all take it so seriously, thinking they were anarchists or something. With the posters and the fireworks and the stupid slogans. I don't know. Michael found me about half an hour ago. I know you're going to hate me now, but yeah, he's right. It's worse for you if you don't know.
Tears start to drift down his face, and I don't know what to do. Like when we were little. Always silent tears.
I am the worst type of human being,
Lucas says, and he puts his elbows on the table and looks away from me. Well, you're not getting any sympathy from me, I say. Because he gave up. Lucas gave up. He let these stupid imaginary feelings control his life, and he made bad things happen. Very bad things, which caused other bad things to happen. This is the way the world works. This is why you never let your feelings control your behavior. I'm angry. I'm angry that Lucas didn't fight against his feelings. But that's the way the world works. Lucas stands up and I flinch away. Stay away from me, I find myself saying, like he's a rabid animal. I can't believe it took until now for me to realize the truth. He's not Lucas Ryan to me anymore.
Victoria, I saw you that day and thought that the person who I'd been in love with for 6 years was going to kill herself.
Don't touch me! Stay away from me! Nobody is honest. Nobody is real. You can't trust anyone or anything. Emotions are humanity's fatal disease, and we're all dying.
Look, I'm not part of Solitaire anymore.
You were so innocent and awkward. I'm talking in rushed, maniacal strings of thought. I don't know why I'm saying any of this. It's not really Lucas I'm angry at. I suppose you thought you were romantic with your books and your fucking hipster clothes. Why shouldn't I be in love with you? All this time you were plotting and baking. Why am I surprised? This is what everyone does. And then I know exactly what to do. What, I ask, is Solitaire going to do tomorrow? I have the chance to do something, to finally, wonderfully put an end to all the pain. He says nothing, so I shout, Tell me! Tell me what's happening tomorrow!
I don't know exactly,
says Lucas, but I think he's lying.
All I know is that they're meeting inside at 6 a.m.
So that's where I'll be. Tomorrow at 6 I'll undo everything. Why didn't you tell me that before? I whisper. Why didn't you tell anyone? There is no answer. He cannot answer. The sadness is coming, like a storm, and I start to laugh like a serial killer. I laugh and run out of the school, run through this dead town, run, and I think maybe the pain will stop. But it keeps burning inside, burning down. The 4th of February is a Friday. The UK experiences the heaviest snowfall since 1963. Approximately 360,000 people are born, and lightning strikes the earth 518,400 times. 154,080 people die. I escaped my house at 5:24 a.m. I did not watch any films during the night. None of them seemed very interesting. Also, my room was kind of freaking me out because I pulled down all the solitaire posts and my carpet is now a meadow of paper and blue tack. I just kind of sat on my bed, not doing anything. Anyway, I'm wearing as many clothes as possible over my school uniform, and I'm armed with my phone and a torch and an unopened diet lemonade can, which I don't think I'll drink. I'm feeling slightly deranged, because I haven't slept for about a week, but it's a good sort of deranged. An ecstatic deranged. An invincible, infinite deranged. The Solitaire blog post appeared at 8 p.m. last night. 20:03 February. Solitarians. Tomorrow morning, Solitaire's greatest operation will take place at Harvey Green Grammar School. You are most welcome to attend. Thank you for all your support this term. Our former leader never truly explained the creation of Solitaire. We hope that we've added something to what might have been a very boring January. Patience kills. I have a sudden urge to call Becky.
Hello?
Becky sleeps with her phone on vibrate next to her head. I know this because she used to tell me how boys wake her up in the night by texting her. Becky, it's Tori.
Oh my god, Tori.
She doesn't sound very alive.
Why are you calling me at 5 a.m.?
It's 20 to 6.
Well, that changes everything.
That's a 40-minute difference. You can do a lot in 40 minutes.
Just, why are you calling?
To say that I'm feeling a lot better. Pause.
Well, that's good, but...
Yeah, I know. I feel really, really, really good.
Then shouldn't you be sleeping?
Yeah, I will, once I've sorted things out for good. It's happening this morning. Solitaire, you know. Second pause.
Wait.
She's awake now.
Wait, what? Where are you?
I look around. I'm nearly there, actually. Heading to school. Why?
Oh my god!
There's some scuffling of her sitting up in her bed.
Jesus Christ, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
I already told you.
Tori, just go home!
Go home, I laugh. And do what? Cry some more?
Are you literally insane? It is 5 a.m. What are you even trying to...
I stop laughing and press the red button, because she is making me tear up. My feet sink into the snow as I hurry through town. I'm pretty sure that at some point I'm going to take a step and my foot won't stop. It'll just keep sinking down into the snow until I've disappeared entirely. If it wasn't for the street lights, it would be pitch black. But the lights are painting the white with a dull yellowish glow. The snow looks sick. Diseased. 15 minutes later, I push my way through a hedge to get into school because the main gates are locked. I get a big old scratch on my face, and upon inspection using my phone screen, I decide I quite like it. The car park is deserted. I trudge through the snow toward the main entrance, and as I draw closer, I see that the door is ajar. I head inside, immediately noticing the white burglar and fire alarm box on the wall. Or what used to be a white box on the wall. It's been torn away and is hanging from the plaster by only a couple of wires. The rest of the wires have all been cut. I stare at it for a few seconds before moving on down the corridor. They're here. I drift for a while, a ghost of Christmas past. I'm reminded of the last time I was here at a stupid hour of the day, weeks ago, with the prefix and Zelda and the violin video. That seems like a long time ago. Everything seems colder now. As I draw closer toward the end of the corridor, I begin to hear unintelligible whispers coming from the corner English classroom. Mr. Kent's classroom. I flatten myself like a spy against the wall by the door. There is a light glaring from its plastic window. Carefully and slowly, I peer into the room. I expect to find a horde of Solitaire minions, but what I see instead are 3 figures huddled by a cluster of tables in the middle of the room, illuminated by an oversized torch shining upward from the table. The first is the guy with the large quiff, who I've seen Lucas with 100 times, in a very Lucas-ish hipster get-up. Skinnies, boat shoes, bomber jacket, and Ben Sherman polo. The second person is Evelyn Foley. Quiff has his arm around her. Oh. Evelyn's secret boyfriend is Quiff. I think back to the clay. Had the Solitaire voice been a girl's? It's too cold for me to remember anything, so I focus my attention on the third figure, Lucas. Quiff and Evelyn seem to be kind of ganging up on him. Lucas is whispering hurriedly at Quiff. He told me he wasn't part of Solitaire anymore, didn't he? Maybe I should jump into the room and start shouting, waving my phone, threatening to call the police. Maybe.
Oh my god.
At the other end of the corridor, Becky Allen blinks into existence, and I almost collapse. She points at me with an accusatory finger and hisses.
I knew you wouldn't go home.
My eyes, wild and unfocused, spin crazily as she storms down the corridor. Soon Becky is beside me, in Superman pajama bottoms tucked into at least 3 pairs of socks and furry boots, along with a hoodie and a coat and all other kinds of woolly clothing. She's here. Becky came here. For me. She looks very strange with no makeup on, and her purplish hair all scraped into a greasy sort of bulb. I don't know why or how this happens, but I'm actually relieved that she's here.
Oh my god, you're insane,
she whispers.
You are psychotic.
And then she hugs me, and I let her, and for several seconds I really feel like we're friends. She lets go, withdraws and cringes.
Dude, what have you done to your face?
She lifts her sleeve and wipes it roughly against my cheek, and when she draws it away, it's stained red. Then she smiles and shakes her head. I'm reminded of the Becky I knew 3 years ago, before boys, before sex, before alcohol, before she started to move on while I stayed exactly where I was. I point toward the door to the English room. Look inside. She tiptoes past me and looks, and her face opens up in horror.
Evelyn? What the... And why is Lucas...
Her mouth hangs wide open as the sudden realization arrives.
Is this Solitaire?
She turns back to me and shakes her head.
This is too much mindfuckery for this time of day. I'm not even sure I'm actually awake.
Shh. I'm trying to listen to what they're saying. Becky dives past the door and we stand, hidden in the dark, on either side of it, and by both carefully peering round the frame we spy on the gathering. Vaguely we begin to decipher a conversation. It is 6:04 a.m.
Grow some balls, Lucas.
Evelyn. She's wearing high-waisted denim shorts and tights and one of those jackets with tartan lining.
I'm not even joking. We're terribly sorry to tear you away from your teddy bear and your electric blanket, but can you just grow some balls?
Lucas's face, dotted with shadows, grimaces.
Can I please remind you that I am the one who started Solitaire in the first place, therefore my balls are in no position to be questioned. Thanks.
Yeah, you started it,
says Quiff. It's the first time I get a proper look at him, and for someone with such a large head of hair, he really is tiny. By his side on the table is a Morrison shopping bag. His voice is also far more sophisticated than I'd anticipated.
And you left just when we started to do stuff that's actually worthwhile. We're doing something great, and yet here you are saying that everything you have worked for has been, and I quote, total and utter bullshit.
This isn't what I worked for.
Lucas snaps.
I thought that messing with the school would help people.
Fucking up this school,
says Quiff,
is the best thing that's ever happened to this town.
But this isn't going to help anyone. It's not going to change anything. Changing an environment doesn't change a person.
Cut the crap, Lucas!
Evelyn shakes her head.
You're not Gandhi, babe.
You must be able to see what an idiotic idea this is,
says Lucas.
Just give me the lighter,
says Quiff. Becky, her palms flattened against the wall like Spider-Man, whips her head around.
Lighter?
I shrug back. I stare harder at Lucas and realise that behind his back, he's holding what at first looks like a gun, but is actually just one of those novelty lighters. There's only one thing you can do with a lighter.
No,
says Lucas, but even this far away I can tell he's nervous. Quiff lunges for Lucas's arm, but he steps backward just in time. Quiff begins to laugh like some evil mastermind.
Well, shit,
says Quiff.
You went through all this trouble and now you're just gonna steal our stuff and run off with it? Like a little kid? Why did you even come here? Why didn't you just go and tell on us like the baby you are?
Lucas shifts onto his other leg, silent.
Give me the lighter,
says Quiff.
Last chance.
Fuck you,
says Lucas. Quiff puts his hand to his face and rubs his forehead, sighing.
Ugh, Christ.
Then, like someone flicked a switch in his brain, he swings his fist at lightning speed and punches Lucas in the face. Lucas, with surprising dignity, doesn't fall down. He lifts himself up to his full height and meets Quiff dead in the eye.
Fuck you,
says Lucas again. Quiff smashes Lucas in the stomach, this time doubling him over. He grabs Lucas's arm with ease and wrenches away the lighter gun. Then he grabs Lucas by the collar, holds the barrel against his neck, and pushes him against the wall. I expect he thinks he looks like some kind of mafia boss, but it doesn't help that he's got the face of a 7-year-old and the voice of David Cameron.
You couldn't just leave it, could you, mate? You couldn't just leave it alone, could you?
It's obvious that Quiff is not going to pull the trigger and burn Lucas's neck. It is obvious to Quiff that Quiff is not going to burn Lucas. It is obvious to all the people who have ever lived and all the people who will ever live that Quiff does not have the strength, will, or malice to seriously wound a fairly innocent guy like Lucas Ryan. But I guess if someone is holding a light gun up to your throat, then things like that aren't quite as obvious as they should be. Becky is no longer at my side. She karate kicks the door open.
Okay, chaps, just stop right now. Stop the madness.
With one hand in the air, she strides out from our hiding place. Evelyn makes some kind of squealing sound. Lucas lets out a triumphant laugh. And Quiff drops Lucas's collar and steps backward as if afraid that Becky might arrest him right there on the spot. I follow her in and immediately regret it. Lucas sees me and stops laughing. Becky stomps up and places herself directly between Lucas and the lighter gun. Her makeupless face transforms her into a thin-eyed, pale-faced warrior.
Oh, darling.
She sighs at Quiff and tilts her head, Fox sympathetically.
You actually think you're intimidating, don't you? I mean, where in God's name did you get that piece of crap? Cost cutter?
Quiff tries to laugh it off, but fails. Becky's eyes turn to fire. She holds out her hands.
Go for it, dude.
Her eyebrows are all the way up her forehead.
Go on. Set fire to my hair or whatever. I'm relatively intrigued to see if you can pull that trigger.
I see Quiff desperately trying to think of something witty to say. After a few awkward moments, he stumbles backward, grabs the Morrison bag and puts the lighter into it and pulls the trigger. The lighter flame glows orange for approximately 2 seconds before Quiff pulls it away and casts the bag dramatically towards the classroom bookshelf. Whatever is inside the bag begins to smoke and rustle. Everyone in the room looks at the bag. The smoke gradually thins. The plastic bag withers a little before flopping off the shelf and onto the floor upside down. There is a long silence. Eventually, Becky throws her head back and roars with laughter. has nothing to say anymore. There's no way he can take back what just happened. I think this is just about the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
This is Solitaire's grand finale.
Becky continues to laugh.
Oh my god, you really are the most deluded of all the hipsters I've met. You bring a whole new meaning to the word deluded.
Quiff lifts the lighter and sways a little toward the bag, as if he's going to try again. But Becky grabs him violently by the wrist and with her other hand wrenches the gun away. She waves it in the air and withdraws her phone from her coat pocket.
Take one step toward that plastic bag, bitch, and I'm calling the popo.
She raises her eyebrows like a disappointed teacher.
Don't think I don't know your name, Erynn Riley.
Quiff, or Erynn Riley or whatever, squares up to her.
You think they believe some slag?
Becky throws her head back for the second time.
Oh man, I've met so many bellends like you.
She pats Quiff on the arm.
You do the whole tough guy thing really well, mate. Well done.
I steal a glance at Lucas, but he's just staring at Becky, absently shaking his head.
You're all the same,
says Becky.
All you idiots who think that by playing the self-righteous intellect, you rule the entire world. Why don't you go home and complain about it on your blog like normal people? I mean, what are you trying to do here, dude? What's Solitaire trying to do? Do you all think you're better than everyone else? Are you trying to say that school isn't important? Are you trying to teach us about morals and how to be a better person? Are you trying to say that if we just laugh about it all, if we just stir up some shit and put smiles on our faces, then life's going to be hunky-dory? Is that what Solitaire's trying to do?
She lets out a monstrous cry of exasperation, actually making me jump.
Sadness is a natural human emotion, you giant dick!
Evelyn, who has been watching with her lips pursed the entire time, finally speaks up.
Why are you judging us? You don't even understand what we're doing.
Oh, Evelyn, really? Solitaire? You're with Solitaire.
Becky begins to flick the lighter on and off. Perhaps she's as deranged as I am. Evelyn cowers backward.
And this prick has been your special secret boyfriend all along? He's wearing more hair product than I've used in the past year, Evelyn.
She shakes her head like a weary old person.
Solitaire. Bloody hell, I feel like I'm in year 8 all over again.
Why are you acting like such a special snowflake?
Says Evelyn.
You think you're a better person than us?
Becky screeches with laughter and tucks the lighter gun into her pyjama trousers.
A better person! I've done some shitty things to people, and now I'm admitting it. You know what, Evelyn? Maybe I want to be a special snowflake. Maybe sometimes I just want to express the emotions that I'm actually feeling, instead of having to put on this happy, smiley facade that I put on every day, just to come across to bitches like you as not boring.
She points at me as if she's punching the air.
Apparently Tori understands what you guys are trying to do. I have no idea why you're trying to destroy our crappy little school, but Tori thinks that, you know, on the whole, you're doing something bad, and I fucking believe her.
Her arm drops.
Dear God, Evelyn, you severely piss me off. Jesus Christ, creepers are the ugliest shoes I have ever seen. Go back to your blog or Glastonbury or wherever you came from and stay there.
Quiff and Evelyn take one last horrified glance at Becky before giving up. It's kind of remarkable in a way, because people are very stubborn and they don't like to be proven wrong. I think that they both knew that what they were about to do was wrong, though, or they didn't have the guts to go through with it deep down. Maybe, when it came down to it, they'd never been the real antagonists. But if they're not, then who is? We follow the pair slowly out of the room and down the corridor. We watch as they wander away out through the double doors. If I were them, I would probably change schools immediately. They will be gone in a minute. Gone forever. They will be gone. We stay there for a while, not saying anything. After a few minutes I begin to sweat. Maybe I feel angry. No. I don't feel anything. Lucas is standing next to me, and he turns. His eyes are big and blue and dog-like.
Why did you come here, Victoria?
Those two would have hurt you, I point out. But we both know this isn't true.
Why did you come?
Everything's so blurry. Lucas sighs.
Well, it's finally over. Becky kind of saved us all.
Becky seems to be having a kind of stunned breakdown, slumped on the floor against the wall with her Superman logoed legs sprawled out in front of her. She holds the lighter gun up to her face, flicking it on and off in front of her eyes, and I can just about hear her muttering.
This is the most pretentious novelty lighter I've ever seen. This is so pretentious.
Am I forgiven?
Asks Lucas. Maybe I'm going to pass out. I shrug. You're not actually in love with me, are you? He blinks, and he's not looking at me.
No, it wasn't love, really. It was... I just thought I needed you, for some reason.
He shakes his head.
I actually think that Becky's rather lovely.
I try not to throw up or stab myself with my house keys. I stretch my face into a grin like a toy clown. You and the rest of the solar system. Lucas's expression changes, like he finally gets who I am. Could you not call me Victoria anymore? I ask. He steps away from me.
Yeah, sure, Tori.
I start to feel hot. Were they going to do what I think they were going to do? Lucas's eyes keep moving around, not looking at me.
They were going to burn the school down,
he says. It seems almost funny. Another childhood dream. If we were 10, perhaps we'd rejoice in the idea of the school being on fire, because that would mean no more school, wouldn't it? But it just seems violent and pointless now. As violent and pointless as all the other things that Solitaire has done. And then I realize something. I turn around.
Where are you going?
Asks Lucas. I walk down the corridor back to Kent's classroom, getting hotter and hotter the closer I get.
What are you doing?
I gaze into the classroom, and I wonder if I've lost it entirely.
Tori?
I turn to Lucas and look at him standing at the other end of the corridor. Really, properly look at him. Get out, I say, maybe too quietly.
What?
Take Becky and get out!
Wait, what are you...
And then he sees the orange glow lighting up one side of my body. The orange glow coming from the fire that's raging through Kent's classroom.
Holy shit,
says Lucas. And then I'm racing down the corridor toward the nearest fire extinguisher, tugging at it, but it won't come off the wall. There's a horrific crack and the door to the classroom has split and is burning happily. Lucas has joined me at the extinguisher, but however hard we tug, we can't get it off the wall. The fire creeps out of the room and spreads to the wall display, the ceiling filling steadily with smoke.
We need to get out.
Lucas shouts over the roaring flames.
We can't do anything.
Yes, we can. We have to. We have to do something. I have to do something. I abandon the extinguisher and head further into the school. There will be another one in the next corridor, the science corridor. Becky has leapt up from the floor. She goes to run after me, as does Lucas, but a giant wall display suddenly flops off the wall in a fiery wreck of paper and pins blocking the corridor. I can't see them. The carpet catches light and the flames begin to advance toward me.
Tori!
Someone screams. I don't know who. I don't care. I locate the fire extinguisher and this one easily detaches from the wall. It says water on it. But also, do not use on burning liquid fires or live electrical equipment. The fire edges down the corridor, on the walls, the ceiling, the floor, pushing me backward. There are lights, plug sockets everywhere.
Tori!
This time the voice comes from behind me. 2 hands place themselves on my shoulders and I leap around as if it's death itself. But it's not. It's him in his t-shirt and jeans, glasses, hair, arms, legs, eyes, everything. It's Michael Holden. He wrenches the fire extinguisher from my arms. And he hurls it out of the nearest window. "15. I'm forced down the corridor and thrown out to the nearest fire exit. How Michael knew we were here, I don't know. What he's doing, I don't know. But I need to stop that fire. I need to be in there. If I can't do anything, then it will have all been for nothing. My whole life, everything, nothing. He tries to grab me, but I'm practically a torpedo. I race back through the fire exit and down the next corridor, away from the oncoming flames, searching for another fire extinguisher. I'm sort of hyperventilating, and I can't see anything, and I'm running so fast, and I have no idea where this corridor is in the school, and I start to tear up again. But Michael can run like he skates. He grabs me around the waist just as I tug the fire extinguisher off the wall, just as the fire bypasses the fire exit and closes us in.
Tori, we need to get out now!
The fire draws Michael's face out of the dark. I flail around in his grip and burst forward, but he closes his fist around my forearm and squeezes it and starts to drag me. And before I know what I'm doing, I'm yanking my arm so hard that my skin starts to burn. I'm screaming at him and pushing, and I swing my leg around and actually kick him in the stomach. I must kick him hard because he tumbles backward and clutches his body. I instantly realize what I've done and freeze, looking at him in the orange light. We meet each other's eyes and he seems to realize something. And I want to laugh because, yeah, he's finally realized. Just like Lucas did eventually. And I hold my arms out to him. And then I see the fire. The inferno of the science lab to our right. The science lab that's connected to the English classroom by one single doorway, which the flames must have stormed straight through. I leap forward into Michael and push him away, and the classroom explodes outward. Crumpled tables, chairs, flying fireballs of books. I'm on the ground several meters away, miraculously alive, and I open my eyes but can see nothing. Michael is lost somewhere around me in the smoke. I scramble backward as a chair leg soars past my cheek, and scream his name, no way of knowing if he's alive or... I get up and run, crying, shouting things, a name, his name. Solitaire's entire idea, that childhood dream. Is he dead? No. I see a shape rise vaguely from the smoke, flailing around before disappearing further into the school. At one point I think I hear him calling me, but I might just be imagining it. I scream his name and I'm running again, out of the smoke cloud, away from the science corridor, around the corner. Flames have reached an art classroom and the artwork, hours and hours of it, is melting into globules of fried acrylic and dripping onto the floor. It's so sad that I want to cry, but the smoke has already started that. I start to panic too, not because of the fire, not even because I'm losing and Solitaire is winning. Because Michael is here. Another corridor, another... Where am I? Nothing is the same in the dark and the burning. Epileptic lights flash around me like sirens, like I'm passing out, diamonds sparkling. I'm screaming again, Michael Holden! The fire growls and a hurricane of hot air carries through the school's tunnels. I call out for him. I'm calling him over and over again. I'm shaking so hard the artwork and the handwritten essays on the wall are disintegrating around me and I cannot breathe. I failed. I say these words right as I'm thinking them. It's funny. This never happens. I failed. It's not the school I failed. It's not even myself. It's Michael. I failed him. I failed to stop being sad. He tried so hard to be nice, to be my friend, and I failed him. I stopped screaming. There is nothing now. Michael, dead. The school, dying, and me. There is nothing now. And then a voice. My name in the smoke. I spin on the spot, but there are only flames that way. What building am I in? There must be a window, a fire exit, something, but everything is burning, the smoke slowly starting to suffocate the air and eventually me. So before I know what I'm doing, I'm tearing up a flight of stairs onto the second floor, smoke and flames at my heels. I turn left again, right into a classroom. The door slams behind me. I grab a chair, not thinking about anything except fire and smoke and dying, and smash the thin window. I close my eyes as a sprinkling of glass dust showers over my hair. I climb out into the morning and onto the top of what seems to be a concrete roof, and finally, I remember where I am. The beautiful place. The small concrete roof of the art conservatory. The field of snow and the river. The black morning sky, cold air. Infinite space. 1,000 thoughts at once. Michael Holden is 900 of them. The rest are self-hatred. I failed to do anything. I look at the smashed window. What does that lead to? Only pain. I look at the metal stairs to my right. What do they lead to? Only myself failing time and time again to do anything right or say anything right. I'm at the edge, and I look down. It's far. It's calling me. A hope of something better. A third option. It's so hot I take my coat and gloves off. It hits me then. I haven't ever known what I wanted out of life until now. I sort of want to be dead. "16. My feet drift absently closer to the edge. I think about Michael Holden, mainly about how he's secretly angry all the time. I think that a lot of people are secretly angry all the time. I think about Lucas Ryan, and that makes me feel sadder. There is another tragedy in which I am not the rescuer. I think about my ex-best friend, Becky Allen. I don't think I know who she is. I think I knew before we grew up. But after that she changed and I didn't. I hope that I can understand why one day. I think about my brother Charlie Spring and Nick Nelson. Sometimes paradise isn't what people think it should be. I think about Ben Hope. Sometimes people hate themselves. And while I think, Harvey Green Grammar School dissolves. My feet peep slightly over the concrete roof. If I fall accidentally, the universe will be there to catch me. And then, there he is. Charlie Spring. A lone dot in orange-tinted white. He's waving and screaming up.
Don't!
Don't, he says. And there's another figure running along. Taller. Stouter. He clutches Charlie's hand. Nick Nelson. And then another. And another. Why? What's wrong with people? Why do they never give you any peace? There's Lucas and Becky. Becky puts her hands on her mouth. Lucas puts his hands on his head. Charlie's screaming in a battle with the wind and flames. Screaming. Whirling. Burning.
Stop!
This voice is closer and comes from above. I decide that it is probably God, because I think that this is probably how God works. He waits until your final moments, and then he'll step in and take you seriously. It's like when you're 4 years old, and you tell your parents that you're going to run away, and they say, "Okay, go right ahead," like they don't care. And they only start caring when you actually walk out to the door and down the road with your teddy bear under your arm and a packet of biscuits in your rucksack.
Tori!
I turn around and look up. At the top of the school building, above the window that I smashed, is Michael Holden, lying on his front over the roof so that only his head and shoulders are visible from below. He holds out an arm to me.
Please.
The mere sight of him makes me want to die even more. The school's burning down, I say, turning back the other way. You need to leave.
Turn around, Tori. Turn around, you absolute twat.
Something retches me around. I take out my torch, wondering briefly why I hadn't used it until now, and shine it upward. I see him then. Properly. Hair all messed up and dusty. Patches of soot smothering his face. A burn mark on his outstretched arm.
Do you want to kill yourself?
He asks. And the question sounds unreal because you never hear anyone ever asking that question in real life.
I don't want you to do that.
He says.
I can't let you do that. You can't leave me here alone.
His voice breaks.
You need to be here.
He says. And then he does that thing that I do. His mouth sort of sucks itself in and turns down, and his eyes and nose crinkle up, and one tear creeps out of the corner of his blue eye, and he raises his hands to cover up his face. I'm sorry, I say, because his face, all scrunched up and melting physically, hurts me. I start to cry too. Against my will, I step away from the edge and closer to him, and I hope that this makes him understand. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Shut up!
He's smiling while crying, madly throwing his hands from his face and raising both arms up. Then he punches the ground.
God, I'm stupid. I can't believe I didn't realize this any sooner. I can't believe it.
I'm pretty much directly under his face. His glasses begin to slide off his nose and he swiftly pushes them back up.
You know, the worst thing is when I threw away that fire extinguisher you were holding. I wasn't just thinking about saving you.
He chuckles sadly.
We all need saving, really.
Then why? I pause, suddenly understanding everything. This boy, this person. How has it taken me this long to understand? He needed me as much as I needed him. Because he was angry. And he has always been angry. You wanted the school to burn. He chuckles again and rubs his eyes.
You do know me.
And he's right. I do know him. Just because someone smiles doesn't mean that they're happy.
I've never been good enough.
He says.
I get so stressed out. I don't make friends. God, I can't make friends.
His eyes glaze over.
Sometimes I just wish I were a normal human being. But I can't. I'm not. No matter how hard I try. And then the school was burning and I thought, something told me it might be a way out of all of this. I thought it would make me feel better and you feel better.
He swivels into a sitting position, legs dangling over the edge mere centimetres from my head.
I was wrong,
he says. I look back out to the edge of the building. No one is happy. What is there in the future?
Some people aren't meant for school,
says Michael.
That doesn't mean they aren't meant for life.
I can't. I say. The edge is so close. I can't.
Let me help you.
Why would you do that? He jumps down to the roof I'm standing on and looks at me. Really looks. I'm reminded of the time I first saw myself in his oversized glasses. The Tori Spring looking back at me now seems different somehow.
One person can change everything,
he says.
And you have changed everything for me.
Behind him, a small fireball erupts out of the roof. It temporarily lights the tips of Michael's hair, but he doesn't even blink.
You are my best friend,
he says. A flush of red passes over him and it makes me embarrassed to see him embarrassed. He awkwardly flattens his hair with one hand and wipes his eyes.
We're all going to die. One day. So I want to get it right first time, you know. I don't want to make any more mistakes. And I know that this is not a mistake.
He smiles.
You are not a mistake.
He turns abruptly and gazes toward the burning school.
Maybe we would have been able to stop it,
he says.
Maybe if I hadn't.
His voice catches in his throat and he brings a hand up to his mouth, his eyes filling with tears again. This is a new feeling. Or a very old one. I do something that I don't expect. I reach out. My arm lifts up and moves forward through the air toward him. I just want to make sure he's there. To make sure I haven't made him up. My hand touches his sleeve. You shouldn't hate yourself, I say, because I know that he doesn't just hate himself for letting the school burn. He hates himself for a whole lot of other reasons too. But he shouldn't hate himself. He can't. He makes me believe that there are good people in this world. I don't know how this has happened, but what I do know is that this feeling has been there from the very start. When I met Michael Holden, I knew deep down that he was the best person you could possibly hope to be. So perfect that he was unreal. And that made me sort of hate him. However, rather than slowly learning more and more good things about him, I have come across flaw after flaw after flaw. And you know what? That's what makes me like him now. That's why he is a real person. Because he is a real person. I tell him all this. Anyway, I say, unsure how to end this but knowing that I must make my conclusion. I'll never hate you. Maybe I can help you to understand why I will never hate you. A pause. The sound of burning. The smell of smoke. He looks at me like I've shot him. And then we kiss. Neither of us is really sure whether it's an appropriate moment. Me having almost accidentally killed myself and all, and Michael hating himself so much. But it happens anyway. Everything finally makes sense. Knowing that it would be apocalyptic for me not to be here with him. Because right then, at that moment, it's like actually, I really would die if I don't hold him.
I think I've loved you since I met you,
he says as we draw apart.
I just mistook it for curiosity.
Not only is that hideously untrue, I say, feeling like I'm about to pass out, but that is also the dumbest rom-com line I have ever had to endure. And I've endured many, what with me being such a fabulous guy magnet. He blinks. A grin creeps across his face and he laughs, throwing his head back.
Oh my god, there you are, Tori,
he says, laughing hard, pulling me into another hug and practically lifting me off the ground.
Oh my god.
Without warning, he retreats back and points outward and says,
What in the name of Guy Fawkes is going on?
I turn, puzzled toward the field. The white is mostly gone. There are no longer only 4 dots, but at least 100. Dozens and dozens of teenagers. We hadn't heard them. I guess because of the wind and the fire. But now that they've seen us turn around, they've begun to wave and shout. I can't see the faces clearly. But each person is a whole person. A whole person with a whole life, who gets out of bed in the morning and goes to school and talks to friends and eats food and lives. They're chanting our names, and I don't know most of them, and most of them don't know me. I don't even know why they're here, but still. In the middle I can see Charlie being given a piggyback by Nick and Becky by Lucas. They're waving and shouting. I say, my voice cracking. Understand. Michael retrieves his phone from his pocket and loads up the Solitaire blog. There's nothing new there. Then he loads up Facebook and scrolls down the feed.
Well,
he says, and I look over his shoulder at the phone. Lucas Ryan. Solitaire is burning down Hughs. 32 minutes ago via mobile. 94 like this. 43 shares. View all 203 comments.
Maybe,
says Michael.
Maybe he thought the school burning, it was too amazing to let it go to waste.
I look at him and he looks at me.
Don't you think it's kind of magnificent?
He says. And it is. The school is burning. This doesn't happen in real life.
Lucas Ryan, you damn miraculous hipster,
says Michael, gazing down at the crowd.
You really did something beautiful.
Something inside my heart makes me smile. A real smile. And then things go all blurry again, and I sort of start to laugh and cry at the same time. I am unsure whether I am happy or entirely deranged, because I'm sort of curled into myself. Michael has to lean over my head to properly hold me while I'm shaking. But he does it anyway. Snow falls. Behind us the school crumbles, and I can hear the fire engines making their way through the town.
So,
He says, slyly raising his eyebrow in true Michael suavity.
you hate yourself? I hate myself. Common interests. We should get together.
I don't know why, but I start to feel quite delirious. The sight of all those people down there. Some of them are jumping up and down and waving. Some of them are only there because they tagged along for an adventure. But for once I don't think that any of them are conceited or faking it. They're all just being people. I mean, I'm still not 100% sure that I really want to wake up tomorrow. I'm not fixed just because Michael's here. I still want to get into bed and lie there all day because it's a very easy thing to do. But right now, all I can see are all these kids prancing around in the snow and smiling and waving, like they haven't got exams and parents and university choices and career options and all the other stressful things to worry about. There's a guy sitting next to me who noticed it all too. A guy who maybe I can help out. Like he helped me out. I can't say that I feel happy. I'm not even sure if I would know if I was. But all those people down there look so funny, and it makes me want to laugh and cry and dance and sing and not take a flying, dramatic, spectacular leap off this building. Really. It's funny because it's true. After. Carl Benson. I haven't seen you since, junior year. I thought you killed yourself. Andrew Largeman. What? Carl Benson. I thought you killed yourself. That wasn't you? Andrew Largeman. No, that wasn't me. Garden State, 2004. So I suppose, even after going through all this very carefully with you, I still don't really know how this happened. I'm not traumatized. It's not anything dramatic like that. Nothing has been tearing me apart. I can't focus any of it around one particular day, one particular event, one particular person. All I know is that once it started, it became very easy to let it carry on. And I suppose that's how I ended up here. Michael reckons he's going to get questioned by the police. Probably me too. And Lucas and Becky, I suppose. We were all there. I hope that we don't get arrested. I don't think Lucas would tell what really happened. Then again, I don't really know much about Lucas Ryan anymore. Nick, with surprising practicality, said that the best thing to do was to get my parents to meet us at the hospital, so all 6 of us are now crammed in his car. Me, Michael, Lucas, Becky, Nick, and Charlie. Becky's sitting on Lucas's lap, because Nick's car is a tiny Fiat. I think Lucas is genuinely starting to like Becky. I really do, because she stopped Quiff theoretically shooting him or whatever. He keeps looking at her with this hilarious expression on his face, and it sort of makes me feel a little bit less sad. She doesn't notice, of course. Becky is a good person in her heart. I guess I've always known that. I'm in the middle seat. I'm finding it very difficult to concentrate on anything, as I think I'm half asleep. Snow is falling. All the snowflakes are exactly the same. The song playing on the car stereo is some Radiohead song. Everything outside is dark blue. Charlie calls our parents from the front passenger seat. I do not listen to their conversation. After a while he hangs up and sits silently for a minute, gazing emptily at his phone. Then he raises his head and stares out into the morning sky.
Victoria,
he says, and I listen. He says many things. Things that you'd expect people to say in this sort of situation, about love and understanding and support and being there. Things that are supposedly not said enough. Things that usually do not need to be said. I don't listen very hard to any of that, because I knew all of it already. Nobody speaks while he speaks. We all just watch the shops drift past the car windows, listening to the hum of the car and the sound of his voice. When he's finished, he turns to face me and says something else.
I noticed,
he says.
But I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
I've begun to cry. I love you anyway, I say, my voice hardly my own. I can't remember if I've ever said those words before in my whole life, not even when I was a child. I start to wonder what I was really like back then, and whether I've been imagining myself as someone different this entire time. He smiles a beautiful, sad smile and says,
I love you too, Tori.
Michael decides to pick up my hand and cup it in his.
Do you want to know what Dad said?
Says Charlie, turning back to face the front. He's not saying it directly to me, but to the whole car.
He said that this is probably because he read The Catcher in the Rye too many times when he was our age, in that it got absorbed into his gene pool.
Becky sighs.
Ah, Jesus. Can't any teenager be sad and, not be compared to that book?
Lucas smiles at her.
I mean, has anyone here even read it?
Asks Becky. There is a unanimous chorus of nope. Not even Lucas has read it. Funny that. We listen to the Radiohead song. I have this real urge to leap out of the car. I think Michael can tell that I want to do this. Maybe Lucas too. Charlie keeps glancing into the rearview mirror. After a little while, Nick murmurs,
Where are you going to go to sixth form, Charlie?
I have never heard Nick speak so quietly. Charlie answers him by holding Nick's hand, which is clutching the gear stick so hard that his knuckles are turning white, and then by saying,
Troom. I'll just stay at Troom. I'll be with you, yeah? And I guess lots of us will be going to Troom now.
And Nick nods. Becky sleepily leans her head on Lucas's shoulder. I don't want to go to the hospital. I whisper into Michael's ear. This is a half-lie. He looks at me and he's more than pained.
I know.
He rests his head on the top of mine.
I know.
Lucas shifts in the seat next to me. He is looking out of the window at the trees zipping past, the blur of dark and green.
This is supposed to be the best time of our lives,
he says. Becky snorts into Lucas's shoulder.
If this is the best time of my life, I might as well end it immediately.
The car revs to get up the slope to the bridge, and then we're sailing over the frozen river. The earth spins a few 100 meters, and the sun creeps a little closer toward our horizon, preparing to spread its dull winter light over what's left of this wasteland. Behind us, a channel of smoke has leaked into the clear sky, blocking out the few remaining stars that had tried to make an impression. Becky continues to mumble, as if speaking through a dream.
I get it, though. All they wanted was to make us feel like we belonged to something important, making an impression on the world. Because, we're all waiting for something to change. Patience can kill you.
Her voice lowers to a near whisper.
Waiting for so long.
She yawns.
But one day it'll end. It always ends.
And there's sort of a moment where everyone's sitting and thinking. You know, like that feeling when you finish watching a film. You turn off the TV, the screen is black, but the pictures are replaying in your head and you think, what if that's my life? What if that's going to happen to me? Why don't I get that happy ending? Why am I complaining about my problems? I don't know what's going to happen to our school. And I don't know what's going to happen to us. I don't know how long I'm going to be like this. All I know is that I'm here. And I'm alive. And I'm not alone.